When a single father finds a billionaire hiding in his shower, he thinks it's just a break-in. But when she offers him $20,000 for 7 days of silence, he realizes she's running from something far worse than the law. What starts as a simple deal becomes a deadly game of survival, one that will drag him into a world of corporate betrayal, armed mercenaries, and a conspiracy that could destroy them both. This is the story of how an ordinary man risked everything to protect a stranger, and discovered he had more to lose than he ever imagined. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you stay until the end, hit that like button. Trust me, you won't see this coming. The front door was unlocked. Ethan Cole stood on his porch at 3:47 p.m., staring at the brass handle with the kind of slow-building dread that starts in your stomach and works its way up. He'd locked it. He always locked it. 7 years of single fatherhood had beaten that habit into him like a second heartbeat. He pushed the door open with 2 fingers, listening. Nothing. The living room looked normal, couch still sagging in the middle where Maya liked to bounce, her stuffed rabbit face down on the cushions, the coffee table cluttered with half-finished coloring books. But something felt off. Not wrong, exactly. Just displaced. Like someone had moved through the room trying to put everything back but didn't quite remember where it all went. The TV remote sat on the left side of the coffee table instead of the right. His jacket hung on the 4th hook instead of the 2nd. Small things. The kind of things you'd miss if you weren't looking. Ethan worked construction, and construction taught you to notice when things didn't line up. A beam off by half an inch. A measurement that didn't match the blueprint. The devil lived in the details, and right now, the details were screaming at him. He pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over 911, then stopped. Maya was at his sister's place for the afternoon. She was safe. And if this was just paranoia, if he'd somehow forgotten locking the door this morning, if he'd moved his own jacket without thinking, calling the cops would make him feel like an idiot for the next week. He set his keys down silently on the hall table, moved through the living room. The kitchen was empty, clean. He'd left dishes in the sink that morning, 2 plates, a coffee mug, Maya's cereal bowl with dried milk crusted on the rim. Now they sat in the drying rack, washed and stacked. His pulse kicked up. Someone had been here. Someone was still here. Ethan grabbed the chef's knife from the block on the counter, 8 inches of German steel that he'd bought on sale 3 years ago and barely used. It felt awkward in his hand, too heavy, too serious. He wasn't the kind of guy who grabbed knives. He fixed drywall. He picked his daughter up from school. He microwaved dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets and pretended they tasted good. But someone had broken into his house, and they'd done his dishes. He moved toward the stairs, each step careful, deliberate. The second step creaked. It always creaked, and he winced, pausing to listen. Still nothing. Upstairs, the hallway stretched out in front of him. 3 doors on the left, bathroom at the end. Maya's room, door open, untouched. His room, door closed the way he'd left it. The bathroom, he heard water, running water, not the sink, the shower. Ethan's grip tightened on the knife. His brain tried to make sense of it, running through possibilities like shuffling cards. A homeless person breaking in for a warm shower, a squatter who thought the house was empty, some junkie looking for pills in the medicine cabinet. None of it fit. He reached the bathroom door, pressed his ear against it. The water shut off. Silence dropped like a curtain. Then movement. A towel pulled from the rack, the soft pad of wet feet on tile. Ethan stepped back, raised the knife, and kicked the door open. It swung wide, banging against the wall. And there, standing in a cloud of steam with a towel wrapped around her body and water dripping from dark hair onto bare shoulders, was a woman. She didn't scream, didn't flinch, didn't even look particularly surprised. She just looked at him, calm, composed, like she'd been expecting this exact moment, and said, "You must be Ethan." He stared. She was younger than him, maybe 30, with sharp features and the kind of bone structure that belonged on magazine covers. Even soaking wet and wrapped in his faded blue towel, she looked expensive, like she cost more than his truck. "Who the hell are you?" His voice came out rough, louder than he meant it to. "Scarlett Vaughn." She said it like he should know the name, like it explained everything. It didn't. That's supposed to mean something to me. No. She tilted her head slightly, studying him. I suppose it wouldn't. Ethan kept the knife pointed at her, though it felt increasingly stupid. You didn't stab someone for taking a shower, even if they broke into your house to do it. I'm calling the cops. Please don't. Lady, you broke into my house. I didn't break anything. Her voice stayed level, factual. Your back door was unlocked. I let myself in. That's still breaking in. Legally, yes, but I was careful. I cleaned up after myself. I even washed your dishes. Ethan's head was spinning. This wasn't how break-ins worked. Break-ins involved smashed windows and missing TVs and ransacked bedrooms, not dishwashing. Why? He asked. Why what? Why are you here? What do you want? Scarlett pulled the towel tighter, not out of modesty. She didn't seem capable of embarrassment, but like she was organizing her thoughts. When she spoke again, her tone had shifted. Still calm, but with something underneath it now. Something that sounded almost like fear. I need a place to stay. There are hotels. I can't use hotels. Airbnb. Too traceable. Then find a shelter so they'll find me there. The words came out clipped, final. They'll find me anywhere public, anywhere with records or cameras or credit card trails. I need somewhere off the grid, somewhere no one would think to look. Ethan lowered the knife an inch. Who's they? People you don't want to meet. That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving you right now. He wanted to grab her by the shoulders and shake a straight answer out of her, but something in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't lying. Whatever she was running from, it scared her. And if something scared a woman who could stand naked in a stranger's bathroom without blinking, then it was serious. Get out, he said. I will. After 1 week. No. 7 days, that's all I need. I said no. Scarlett stepped forward, not threatening, just closing the distance between them. And Ethan found himself taking a step back. She had presence, the kind that filled a room even when she was wearing nothing but a towel. I'll pay you, she said. I don't want your money. $20,000. The number hit him like a slap. 20,000. That was 6 months of mortgage payments. That was Maya's college fund. That was the truck repair he'd been putting off since February, and the dental work his insurance wouldn't cover, and every other small financial disaster that kept him awake at 2 a.m. doing math on his phone. For 1 week? He asked. For your silence. I stay here, you don't tell anyone, and in 7 days I'm gone. You never see me again. That's insane. That's the offer. Ethan's mind raced. $20,000. For doing nothing. For letting some stranger hide in his house for a week. It sounded too good. Which meant it was. No, he said again, but his voice lacked conviction this time. Scarlett heard it too. She stepped closer. You don't trust me. I understand that. But I'm not here to hurt you or your daughter. I'm not dangerous. She paused. The people looking for me are. Then why should I let you stay? Because you need the money, and because... She hesitated, and for the first time since he'd kicked the door open, she looked vulnerable. Actually vulnerable, not just performing it. Because I'm out of options. Ethan wanted to say no again, wanted to tell her to get dressed and get out and never come back, wanted to lock every door and window and pretend this afternoon had never happened. But he thought about his bank account. He thought about the notice from Maya's school about the field trip he couldn't afford. He thought about the crack in his truck's windshield that was spreading like a spider web and would cost $800 to replace. And he thought about the look in Scarlett's eyes, the fear she was trying so hard to hide. 1 week, he heard himself say. 1 week. You stay out of sight. You don't answer the door. You don't touch anything that doesn't belong to you. Agreed. And if my daughter asks who you are, you're a friend from work. Nothing else. Understood. And I want half up front. Scarlett smiled, just a flicker, gone almost before it appeared. Done. Matt. 20 minutes later, Ethan sat at his kitchen table watching Scarlett count out $100 bills. She'd gotten dressed, jeans and a plain black t-shirt that definitely weren't his, and her hair hung damp around her shoulders. The stack of cash grew between them like a wall. $10,000. He'd never seen that much money in one place. Where did you get this? He asked. Does it matter? Yeah, it does. If this is drug money or... It's not drug money. She finished counting and pushed the stack toward him. It's mine. Legally earned. Well, she paused. Legally earned before everything went sideways. What does that mean? It means I used to be very good at my job, and then I discovered my business partner was doing things that weren't legal. And when I tried to stop him, he decided I was the problem. Ethan picked up the stack, fanned through it. Real bills. Not counterfeits, as far as he could tell. What kind of things? The kind that put people in prison. The kind that destroy lives. The kind... She stopped, shook her head. You don't want to know the details. If you're staying in my house, I do. Scarlett looked at him for a long moment, weighing something. Then she pulled out her phone. Not an iPhone, something else, something that looked custom-built, and scrolled through it. She turned the screen toward him. News articles. Headlines. Vaughn Tech CEO missing amid fraud allegations. Scarlett Vaughn. Billionaire or con artist. FBI investigating disappearance of tech executive. Ethan's stomach dropped. You're a billionaire? Was. Technically, I still own the company, but my assets are frozen and my face is on every news site in the country, so... She shrugged. The money doesn't do me much good right now. Jesus Christ, he pushed back from the table. You need to leave. We had a deal. Before I knew you were wanted by the FBI. I'm not wanted. I'm missing. There's a difference. Not to me, there isn't. His voice rose and he forced himself to lower it. Maya wasn't home yet, but habits mattered. If they find you here, if anyone finds you here, I lose everything. My daughter, my house, They won't find me. Scarlett's voice cut through his panic like a knife. No one knows I'm here. No one followed me. I've been careful. How careful? Careful enough to stay hidden for 3 weeks while half the country looks for me. She stood, matching his posture. I know what I'm asking. I know the risk. But I'm asking anyway because I don't have anywhere else to go. Ethan looked down at the money on the table. $10,000. More than he made in 3 months. Blood money, a voice in his head whispered. Trouble money. Why me? He asked. Why this house? Because you don't exist. What? I mean, you're not nobody, but you're not connected. You don't have a public profile. You're not on social media. Your financials are clean, your life is quiet, and you have a daughter, which means you have something to protect. She picked up one of the bills, held it between 2 fingers. You're the perfect hiding place because nobody looking for me would ever think to look here. It should have felt like an insult. Instead, it just felt true. 1 week, Ethan said. 1 week. And then you're gone. And then I'm gone. He picked up the cash, folded it, and shoved it in his pocket. It felt heavy. Wrong. My daughter gets home at 5. You need to be upstairs before then. Of course. And you don't come down unless I tell you it's safe. Understood. And he stopped, searching for more rules, more boundaries, more ways to protect himself. Just stay invisible. Scarlett nodded. I'm good at that. Maya came through the door like a small tornado at 5:03, backpack bouncing, sneakers untied, talking before she'd even closed the door behind her. Dad, guess what? Mrs. Patterson said we're doing a play, and I get to be a tree. And Emily wanted to be a tree too, but Mrs. Patterson said there are lots of trees, so we can both be trees. And, Dad, are you listening? Ethan realized he'd been staring at the ceiling, wondering if Scarlett could hear this. If she was listening. If she was wondering what kind of man made a deal like this with a child sleeping 1 floor down. I'm listening, sweetheart. You're a tree. The best tree. Maya dumped her backpack on the floor and ran to the kitchen. Can I have a snack? Apple slices or crackers? Can I have cookies? No. Why not? Because it's almost dinner time. But I'm hungry now. Then have an apple. Maya groaned with the kind of theatrical despair only a 7-year-old could muster. But she grabbed an apple from the bowl and started chomping on it anyway. Ethan watched her, feeling that familiar ache in his chest. Love mixed with fear, mixed with the constant low-level panic that he was screwing this up, that she deserved better than microwave dinners and a dad who worked too much and couldn't afford the good birthday parties. Hey, Maya. Yeah? I have a friend staying with us for a few days. She looked up, interested. A friend from work? Yeah, she's going through some stuff. So she's going to be in the guest room, but she needs quiet, okay? She's tired. Is she sick? No, just tired. Can I meet her? Maybe tomorrow. Right now she's resting. Okay. Maya took another bite of apple, already losing interest. Can we watch a movie tonight? After homework. Dad. After homework. She groaned again, but wandered off toward the living room, apple in hand. Ethan waited until he heard the TV click on, something animated, too loud, then climbed the stairs. Scarlett was sitting on the guest bed perfectly still, hands folded in her lap. The room was small, barely furnished, a bed, a dresser, a lamp that didn't work. He kept meaning to fix it. She's sweet, Scarlett said. You were listening. Hard not to. Your house has thin walls. Ethan leaned against the doorframe, keeping distance between them. She can't know who you are. She can't know anything. I understand. I mean it. If she gets scared, if she thinks something's wrong, I'll be invisible. I promise. He wanted to believe her, wanted to think this would work, that 7 days would pass without incident, and she'd disappear and leave him with enough money to finally breathe. But he'd never been good at lying to himself. There are rules, he said. You mentioned that. I'm serious. This bathroom, he gestured to the small half bath connected to the guest room, is yours. Don't use the main one. Don't go in Maya's room. Don't go in my room. Kitchen access is fine, but only when Maya's asleep or at school. Understood. And no phone calls, no internet, no... I know how to hide, Ethan. Her voice was patient, like she was explaining something to a child. I've been doing it for 3 weeks. Yeah, and now you're doing it in my house, with my kid downstairs, so we do it my way. Something flickered across her face. Respect, maybe, or surprise that he was pushing back. Your way, she agreed. Good. He turned to leave, then stopped. Why'd you really pick this house? I told you. No, the real reason. Scarlett was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. Because when I looked through the window and saw your daughter's drawings on the refrigerator, I knew you'd understand what it means to protect something. The words hit him harder than he expected. He left without responding. That night, after Maya was asleep and the house had settled into its usual creaks and sighs, Ethan lay in bed staring at the ceiling. $10,000 sat in his sock drawer. A wanted woman slept 20 feet away, and he had no idea what he'd just agreed to. He pulled out his phone and Googled Scarlett Vaughn. The results came fast. Tech CEO vanishes after fraud allegations surface. Scarlett Vaughn, from Forbes 30 Under 30 to fugitive inside the rise and fall of Vaughn Technologies. He clicked on an article from Bloomberg. It was dated 3 weeks ago. Scarlett Vaughn, 30, the CEO and co-founder of Vaughn Technologies, disappeared from her San Francisco penthouse on April 12th, just hours after federal investigators announced they were opening an inquiry into the company's financial practices. Sources close to the investigation suggest Vaughn may have embezzled more than $50 million from company accounts. Ethan's hands went cold. $50 million. He kept reading. Vaughn's business partner, Victor Langley, released a statement expressing shock and betrayal at the allegations. I trusted Scarlett completely, Langley said. To learn that she was stealing from our investors, from our employees, it's devastating. Authorities have issued a warrant for Vaughn's arrest, though she has not been formally charged. Her current whereabouts are unknown. Ethan set the phone down. $50 million. And she was sleeping in his guest room. He should call the police. Right now. End this before it got worse. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the fear he'd seen in her eyes. Maybe it was the money in his drawer. Maybe it was the way she'd looked at Maya's drawings and understood what mattered. Or maybe he was just an idiot. He turned off the light and tried to sleep. The next morning started normal. Maya's alarm went off at 6:30. Ethan made breakfast, toast and scrambled eggs, nothing fancy. She complained about her homework, about the eggs being too runny, about wanting to watch TV before school. He told her no. She pouted. He packed her lunch, normal, except for the woman hiding upstairs. After he dropped Maya at school, Ethan came home to find Scarlett in the kitchen, making coffee. She'd found his French press, the one he never used because it took too long, and somehow made coffee that smelled better than anything he'd ever brewed. "Morning," she said. "I told you to stay upstairs." "Your daughter's gone. You said kitchen access was fine when she wasn't home." "I meant—" He stopped. She was right. Those were the rules. "Fine, but next time wait until I tell you it's clear." "Noted." She poured 2 cups, slid one across the counter toward him. "Truce?" He took the coffee. It tasted as good as it smelled. They stood in silence for a moment, sipping coffee like normal people in a normal kitchen on a normal Tuesday morning. Except nothing about this was normal. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said. "Depends on the question." "Did you do it? The embezzlement?" Scarlett's face didn't change. "No." "Then why run?" "Because the man accusing me controls the narrative. He has lawyers, resources, connections. If I'd stayed, I'd be in a cell right now, and by the time anyone bothered to investigate, it would be too late." "Too late for what?" She set down her cup. "To prove he's the one who did it." "Your business partner?" "Victor Langley, yes." "And you have proof?" "I'm working on it." "What does that mean?" "It means I have pieces. Transactions that don't add up. Emails that were deleted but not permanently. Witnesses who are too scared to talk. But I need time to put it together. Time I won't have if I'm arrested." Ethan studied her face, looking for cracks in the story. She met his gaze, steady and unflinching. Either she was telling the truth, or she was the best liar he'd ever met. "1 week," he said. 1 week. "And then you turn yourself in?" "And then I have enough evidence to clear my name." "That's not the same thing." "It's close enough." He finished his coffee and set the cup in the sink. "I have to go to work. I'll be back by 4. Don't answer the door. Don't make noise. Don't be invisible." "I know." She smiled, just slightly. "I'm starting to think you don't trust me." "I don't." "Smart." He grabbed his keys and headed for the door. Halfway there, he stopped. "Scarlett?" "Yes?" "If you're lying to me, if any of this blows back on my daughter, there's not enough money in the world to save you from me." She didn't flinch. "I'd expect nothing less." He left. Work was a disaster. Ethan couldn't focus. He measured twice and cut wrong 3 times. His supervisor, Danny, noticed. "You all right, man? You seem off." "Just tired." "Maya keeping you up?" "Something like that." Danny clapped him on the shoulder. "Parenting, right? Toughest job in the world." Ethan forced a smile and went back to work. But his mind was elsewhere. 20 feet above his living room, a fugitive was hiding. A woman accused of stealing $50 million. A woman who'd looked him in the eye and said she was innocent. And he'd believed her. Or wanted to believe her. Or needed to believe her. Because if he didn't, then he'd made the stupidest decision of his life. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He ignored it. It buzzed again. Same number. On the 3rd buzz, he answered. "Hello?" Silence. Then a man's voice, smooth and professional. "Is this Ethan Cole?" Every instinct screamed at him to hang up. "Who's asking?" "My name is Victor Langley. I believe you may have information about a former colleague of mine." Ethan's blood went cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Scarlett Vaughn. I have reason to believe she may have contacted you recently." "You've got the wrong guy. Mr. Cole, I'm not with the police. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm simply trying to locate someone who's very confused and very dangerous." "I said you've got the wrong—" $10,000 says otherwise." Ethan froze. $10,000, the exact amount Scarlett had given him. "I'm a businessman, Mr. Cole. I track transactions, and someone matching Scarlett's withdrawal patterns took $10,000 in cash from an ATM in your neighborhood yesterday. Now, that could be a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences." Ethan's grip tightened on the phone. "I don't know who you are or what you want, but I want to help her. She's sick, Mr. Cole, mentally unstable. The stress of the investigation broke her. She needs help, not prison. Then call a doctor. I would, if I knew where she was. A pause. You seem like a good man, a father, someone who understands the importance of doing the right thing. If Scarlett is with you, please, let me help her before she hurts someone. She's not here. Are you sure? I'm sure. And I'm hanging up now. Wait. Ethan ended the call. His hands were shaking. He stared at the phone, watching the screen go dark, and knew with absolute certainty that his life had just gotten a lot more complicated. But shit. He drove home in silence, checking his mirrors every 30 seconds, convinced he was being followed. He wasn't. Probably. When he walked through the front door, Scarlett was sitting on the couch reading one of Maya's books, something about a cat who solved mysteries. She looked up. You're early. We need to talk. Her expression shifted. What happened? Victor Langley called me. Scarlett went very still. What did he say? That you're mentally unstable, that you need help, that he just wants to make sure you're safe. Ethan crossed his arms. He also knew about the $10,000. That's impossible. I was careful. Well, he knew, which means either you weren't as careful as you thought, or he's tracking you somehow. Scarlett stood, pacing now, her mind clearly racing. What exactly did he say? Word for word. Ethan repeated the conversation as best he could remember. When he finished, Scarlett's face had gone pale. He's not trying to help me, she said quietly. He's trying to find me. I figured that part out. No, you don't understand. She turned to face him, and the fear was back in her eyes, raw and real. If Victor knows about the money, he knows I'm still in the area, which means he's narrowing the search. And when he finds me... She didn't finish the sentence. What? What happens when he finds you? I disappear. Permanently. You think he'd kill you? I think he's already tried once. The words hung in the air like smoke. Ethan felt the floor shift under him. This wasn't corporate fraud. This wasn't embezzlement. This was something worse. You need to leave, he said. Right now. Pack your stuff and go. I can't. Yes, you can. Walk out that door and don't come back. He'll find me. Then go to the police. And tell them what? That my business partner is trying to kill me? They think I stole $50 million, Ethan. They're not going to believe me over him. Then I don't know what to tell you. His voice rose, frustration boiling over. This is insane. You're putting me and my daughter in danger for... I know! Scarlett's voice cracked, and for the first time she looked like she might break. I know what I'm asking. I know how unfair this is, but I have nowhere else to go. They stared at each other across the room. Please, she said quietly. One more day. Let me figure something out. And if I can't, she swallowed, then I'll leave. I promise. Ethan wanted to say no. Wanted to throw her out and lock the door and pretend this had never happened. But he looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone drowning. And he couldn't walk away from that. One day, he said. That's it. One day. And tomorrow, you're gone. She nodded. Tomorrow, I'm gone. Maya came home. Dinner happened. Mac and cheese from a box, carrot sticks Maya didn't eat, milk spilled and cleaned up. Normal chaos. Ethan tucked her in at 8, read her 2 chapters of the cat detective book, kissed her forehead. Dad? Yes, sweetheart? Is your friend okay? His heart stopped. What do you mean? You seem worried, like when Aunt Jess was sick and you kept checking your phone. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Okay. She snuggled deeper into her pillow. Love you. Love you too. He turned off the light and closed the door, leaning against it for a moment, trying to breathe. One more day. That's all he had to survive. One more day, and then Scarlett would be gone, and life could go back to normal. He found her in the guest room, laptop open, face illuminated by the screen. I thought you said no internet, he said. Encrypted connection. Untraceable. You're sure? As sure as I can be. He sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. What are you looking for? Proof. She didn't look up from the screen. Victor's been moving money through offshore accounts for months. If I can trace the transactions, I can prove he's the one embezzling. And if you can't, then I'm out of options." They sat in silence for a moment. "Why'd you really come here?" Ethan asked. "To my house specifically?" Scarlett's fingers paused on the keyboard. "I told you. The real reason, not the tactical answer, the truth." She was quiet for a long time. Then she closed the laptop and turned to face him. "Because I saw your daughter's drawings, and I thought, if there's someone in this world who understands what it means to protect something innocent, maybe they'd understand why I'm running." "That's it?" "That's it." Ethan shook his head. "You're either the best manipulator I've ever met or the most desperate." "Can I be both?" Despite everything, he almost smiled. "Get some sleep," he said, standing. "Tomorrow's going to be a long day." "Ethan?" He stopped at the door. "Thank you," she said, "for not throwing me out, for giving me a chance." "Don't thank me yet. We're not out of this." "Still, thank you." He nodded and left, closing the door behind him. In his own room, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling again. One more day. And then this nightmare would be over. He almost believed it. Morning came too fast. Ethan woke to his alarm at 6, the same as always, but nothing else felt the same. The weight in his chest hadn't left. He'd barely slept. Every creak in the house had jerked him awake, convinced it was Victor Langley kicking down his door or federal agents swarming the property. But the house was quiet. He checked on Maya first. Still asleep, curled around her stuffed rabbit, her breathing soft and even. Safe. For now. The guest room door was closed. Ethan stood outside it for a moment, listening. No sound. He turned the handle slowly and pushed it open. Empty. The bed was made, corners tucked military tight. No sign Scarlett had ever been there except for a folded piece of paper on the pillow. He picked it up. "Had to move. Too risky to stay. The rest of the money is in the air vent above the bed. You'll need a screwdriver. I'm sorry for the trouble. Destroy this note. S." Ethan stared at the words, reading them twice, 3 times. She was gone. Relief hit him first, sharp and clean. She'd kept her word. One more day, she'd said, and she'd left before it was even up. The nightmare was over. Then the relief curdled into something else. He climbed onto the bed and unscrewed the vent cover. Inside, wrapped in a plastic grocery bag, was the other $10,000. He pulled it out, checked the bills. All there. $20,000 total. For 2 days of hiding a fugitive. It should have felt like a win. Instead, it felt like blood money. He shoved the cash into his jacket pocket, replaced the vent cover, and went downstairs. Maya was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a bowl of cereal, swinging her legs. "Morning, Dad." "Morning, sweetheart." He kissed the top of her head, tried to sound normal. "Sleep okay?" "Uh-huh." "Is your friend still here?" "No, she had to leave early." "Oh." Maya crunched a mouthful of cereal. "Did she say bye?" "She did. She said to tell you thank you for sharing your house." Maya smiled at that, pleased. "Can she visit again?" "Maybe. We'll see." Ethan made coffee, regular coffee this time, not the fancy stuff Scarlett had made, and tried to convince himself everything was fine. Scarlett was gone. Victor Langley had no reason to bother him anymore. Life would go back to normal. Except he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He dropped Maya at school at 7:30, same as always. Watched her run through the gates, backpack bouncing. Normal. On the drive to work, his phone rang. Unknown number again. He let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Same number. This time, he answered. "What?" "Mr. Cole." Victor Langley's voice, smooth as glass. "I was hoping we could talk." "I told you yesterday." "I know what you told me. But circumstances have changed." Ethan's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "I don't know where she is." "I believe you, but I think you might know more than you realize." "I don't." "Scarlett's very good at manipulating people. She makes you feel special, makes you think you're helping her, but she's using you, Mr. Cole, just like she used everyone else." "I'm hanging up." "She left you money, didn't she?" Ethan's blood went cold. "How much?" Victor continued. 10,000? 20? She's done it before. pays people to hide her, to lie for her, and when they're no longer useful, she disappears. I don't check your bank account. If she paid you, the FBI will find the trail. They'll ask where it came from, and when you can't explain it, they'll assume you're complicit. Ethan pulled over to the side of the road, heart hammering. You're bluffing. Am I? Large cash deposits raise flags, Mr. Cole, especially when they're connected to a federal investigation. But I can help you. If you tell me what you know, I can make sure the authorities understand you were a victim here, not an accomplice. I don't know anything. Then you have nothing to worry about. A pause. But if you remember something, anything, call me. This number will reach me anytime, day or night. The line went dead. Ethan sat in his truck, hands shaking, staring at the phone. $20,000 in cash. Untraceable. Except it wasn't, was it? Nothing was untraceable if someone was looking hard enough. He pulled the money out of his jacket, stared at it. Evidence. That's what it was. Evidence that Scarlett Vaughn had been in his house, that he'd made a deal with a fugitive. He shoved it back in his pocket and drove to work. But he couldn't focus. Every time his phone buzzed, his heart jumped. Every time someone walked past, he wondered if they knew, if they could see the guilt written across his face. At lunch, he sat in his truck and Googled how to explain large cash deposit. The results weren't encouraging. At 2 o'clock, Danny found him in the break room staring at his phone. You sure you're all right, man? Yeah, fine. You've been off all week. Just tired. It's more than that. Danny sat down across from him. Look, I don't know what's going on, but if you need to talk, I don't. Okay. Danny stood, hands up. Just saying, you've got people who care, that's all. Ethan watched him leave, feeling like the worst kind of liar. He left work early, told Danny he had a headache, which wasn't entirely false. His skull felt like it was cracking open from the inside. At home, he paced the kitchen, the money still in his pocket, Victor's words circling his brain like vultures. She's using you. The FBI will find the trail. You were a victim, not an accomplice. He pulled out the cash again, spread it on the counter. $20,000. He could deposit it. Claim it was a loan from family, a gift, anything. But Victor was right. Large deposits raised flags. And if the FBI came asking questions, he had no good answers. He could burn it, destroy the evidence, but that felt insane. That was more money than he'd ever had at once, and he needed it. Maya needed it. Or he could do nothing, keep it hidden. Hope no one came looking. The doorbell rang. Ethan's heart stopped. He shoved the money back in his pocket and moved to the window, peering through the blinds. A man stood on his porch. 50s. Expensive suit. The kind of polish that screamed money. Dark hair going silver at the temples. Calm expression, like he had all the time in the world. Victor Langley. Ethan recognized him from the photos online. The doorbell rang again. Every instinct screamed not to answer, to stay silent, stay hidden, wait for him to leave. But Victor wasn't leaving. He stood there, patient, like he knew Ethan was inside. Ethan opened the door halfway, keeping his body in the gap. Mr. Cole. Victor smiled, warm, disarming. Thank you for answering. I know this is unexpected. You need to leave. I will. I just wanted to talk, face to face. No phones, no misunderstandings. He gestured to the porch. May I? No? I understand your hesitation, but I promise, I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here because I'm worried about Scarlett, and I think you might be too. Ethan didn't move. Victor's smile faded slightly. She was here, wasn't she? I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Cole, I'm not wearing a wire. I'm not recording this. I'm just a man trying to find someone who's very sick and very confused. He leaned forward slightly. She's convincing. I know that. She told you I was the bad guy, didn't she? That I framed her? That I'm trying to hurt her? Ethan said nothing. It's what she does, Victor continued. She creates narratives, makes herself the victim. It's a survival mechanism. She's been doing it since she was a child. Her therapist documented it. Pathological lying, persecution complex, narcissistic tendencies. You're a liar. Am I? Victor pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, turned it toward Ethan. This is from her medical file. Confidential, but I have access as her business partner and emergency contact. Ethan glanced at the screen. It looked official, letterhead, signatures, clinical language. Words jumped out at him. Patient exhibits pattern of deception, difficulty maintaining stable relationships, tendency to manipulate. He looked away. I'm not asking you to betray her, Victor said quietly. I'm asking you to help her. Tell me where she went. Let me get her the treatment she needs. Get off my property. Mr. Cole, now. Victor studied him for a moment, then nodded. All right, I can see you need time to process this. He pulled a business card from his pocket, set it on the porch railing. When you're ready to talk, and you will be because Scarlett always leaves a trail of destruction, call me. He walked to a black Mercedes parked at the curb, got in, and drove away. Ethan stood on the porch, staring at the business card. Victor Langley, CEO, Langley Holdings, a phone number embossed in silver. He picked it up, turned it over. On the back, handwritten, She's dangerous. Don't let her hurt your daughter. His hand started shaking. He went inside, locked the door, threw the card in the trash, then pulled it back out, stared at it. Don't let her hurt your daughter. Scarlett wouldn't hurt Maya. She'd been careful, quiet, invisible. She'd looked at Maya's drawings and understood what mattered. But what if Victor was right? What if she was sick? What if everything she'd told him was a lie? Ethan paced the living room, the card burning in his hand. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello? It's me. Scarlett's voice, low and urgent. Don't trust him. How did you... I saw his car leave your street. I'm 2 blocks away. He came to your house, didn't he? Yeah. What did he say? That you're sick. That you're lying. That you're dangerous. Silence on the line. Scarlett? I'm not sick. Her voice was tight, controlled. He's trying to turn you against me because he knows I'm close to proving what he did. How do I know you're telling the truth? You don't. You have to decide who to believe. The billionaire CEO with every resource in the world, or the woman hiding in her car 2 blocks from your house because she has nowhere else to go. Ethan closed his eyes. This is insane. I know. I should have never let you in. I know that too. So why are you calling? Because Victor's escalating, and that means he's scared, which means I'm right. She paused. I need one more thing from you. No, absolutely not. Just listen. You said 1 week. It's been 2 days, and I've already had Victor Langley on my porch threatening me. I'm done. He threatened you? Ethan looked at the card in his hand. Not directly, but yeah. He knows you gave me money. He knows you were here. And if I don't cooperate, he's going to make sure the FBI thinks I'm involved. He's bluffing. How do you know? Because if he could actually prove you were involved, he'd have already called the police. He's trying to scare you into giving me up. Her voice softened. Ethan, I know this is a lot. I know I'm asking too much, but I'm so close. I have almost everything I need to expose him. I just need a little more time. How much time? 2 days? Maybe 3. No. Please. I said no. His voice rose, frustration boiling over. I have a daughter to protect. I can't keep doing this. Then don't. Walk away. Forget you ever met me. A pause. But give me the money back first. Ethan froze. What? The $20,000. If you're walking away, I need it. I can't run without cash. You said it was mine. It was. For 7 days of silence, but it's only been 2, so unless you're planning to keep your end of the deal, I need it back. Anger flared in his chest. You're unbelievable. I'm desperate. There's a difference. They sat in silence, the phone line crackling between them. Where are you staying? Ethan finally asked. My car. For how long? However long it takes. He thought about that. 2, maybe 3 more nights in a car. No shower, no safety, just running. There's a cabin, he heard himself say. About 40 minutes north, belongs to my ex-wife's family. They never use it. It's off the grid, no security cameras, no neighbors. Ethan, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it so I can sleep at night knowing I didn't send someone to freeze in their car. Okay. But after this, we're done. You disappear. I never hear from you again. Deal. I'll text you the address. He hung up before she could respond. He sat on the couch, head in his hands, wondering what the hell he was doing. The money sat in his pocket like a lead weight. Victor's card sat on the coffee table. And somewhere 2 blocks away, Scarlett Vaughn waited for directions to a cabin that might be her last hiding place. Ethan picked up Maya from school at 3:30. She was chatty, excited about the tree costume Mrs. Patterson was helping her make. He listened, nodded, tried to focus on her words instead of the chaos in his head. At home, she did homework at the kitchen table while he made dinner. Spaghetti. Easy, mindless. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Thank you. I mean it. He deleted it. Another buzz. Did you give her the address? Victor. Ethan stared at the screen. How did Victor have his number? How did he know Ethan had talked to Scarlett? Unless he was tracking her phone. Or his. Or both. He turned off his phone. Dad? Maya looked up from her math worksheet. You okay? Yeah, sweetheart. Just tired. You keep saying that. Because it keeps being true. She went back to her homework, but he could feel her watching him when she thought he wasn't looking. After dinner, after homework, after 2 chapters of the cat detective book, Ethan tucked Maya into bed and kissed her forehead. Dad? Yeah? Are we in trouble? His heart stopped. What? No. Why would you think that? You seem worried, like something's wrong. Nothing's wrong. I promise. Okay. She didn't sound convinced. He turned off the light and went downstairs, the lie sitting sour in his stomach. Nothing's wrong. Everything was wrong. He turned his phone back on. 12 missed calls, all from unknown numbers. No voicemails. He opened his laptop, searched for the cabin's address, texted it to Scarlett's number. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, on my way. He closed the laptop. 20 minutes later, his phone rang. Victor. This time he answered. What? You gave her the cabin address. Not a question, a statement. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Cole, I'm trying to be patient with you, but you're making this very difficult. How are you tracking me? I'm not. I'm tracking her. And wherever she goes, you seem to be involved. A pause. The cabin's a bad idea. It's isolated, but it's also a trap. 1 road in, 1 road out. If someone wanted to corner her there, is that a threat? It's a warning. Scarlett's dangerous when she's cornered, and you've just put yourself between her and the only exit. I'm done talking to you. Then let me make this simple. Tomorrow morning, the FBI will receive an anonymous tip about your recent financial activity. Large cash deposits, unexplained income. They'll start asking questions, and when they do, you'll have 2 choices. Tell them about Scarlett or go down with her. Ethan's vision went red. You son of a... Unless... Victor's voice cut through the anger like a blade. You help me. Help you do what? Get her to turn herself in, peacefully. No one gets hurt, no one goes to prison except the person who deserves it. And if I don't, then your daughter grows up visiting you through glass. The line went dead. Ethan stood in his kitchen, shaking with rage and fear, and something else he couldn't name. Victor Langley had just threatened his daughter. Everything else, the money, the lies, the moral calculus of who to believe, fell away. No one threatened Maya. He grabbed his keys. The cabin was 40 minutes north, buried in pine trees at the end of a dirt road that hadn't been maintained in years. Ethan's truck bounced over ruts and potholes, headlights cutting through darkness. Scarlett's car, a beat-up Honda that looked like it had seen better decades, sat parked near the porch. He got out, climbed the steps, knocked. The door opened immediately. Scarlett stood there, tense, a tire iron in one hand. It's me, Ethan said. She lowered the tire iron. You drove all the way out here? We need to talk. She stepped aside, let him in. The cabin was small, 1 room with a kitchenette, a couch that had seen better years, a wood stove that probably didn't work. Scarlett had already spread a sleeping bag on the floor. Victor called me, Ethan said. Again. What did he want? He threatened my daughter. Scarlett's face went pale. What did he say? Ethan repeated the conversation, word for word. When he finished, Scarlett sat down on the couch, head in her hands. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I never meant for this to touch her. But it has. So now you're going to tell me the truth. All of it. No more half answers." She looked up at him. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Start with Victor. What did he do?" Scarlett took a breath. "Victor and I founded Vaughn Technologies 5 years ago. I handled the tech, he handled the money. It worked. We grew fast, got investors, went public. Everything was perfect. Until it wasn't. Until I found a discrepancy in our accounts. Small at first. A few thousand here, a few thousand there. I thought it was a mistake. But when I started digging, I found more. Millions being funneled through shell companies, fake contracts, ghost employees. Victor was embezzling. Not just embezzling. He was running a Ponzi scheme, using new investor money to pay old investors, making it look like the company was profitable when it was hemorrhaging cash. "Why didn't you go to the police?" "I tried. I went to the SEC, gave them everything I'd found. They said they'd investigate." She laughed bitterly. 2 days later, Victor called me into his office. He knew. Somehow, he knew I'd gone to the SEC. And he told me if I didn't back off, he'd make sure everyone thought I was the one stealing. How? He'd already planted evidence. Fake emails from my account, doctored financial records, witnesses who'd swear they saw me moving money. He'd been planning it for months, maybe longer. "So you ran?" "I ran. Because if I stayed, he'd have me arrested before I could prove anything. And once I was in custody, he'd have time to cover his tracks completely." Ethan paced the small room. "And the money you gave me? Where did that come from?" "Cash I'd been keeping for emergencies. Legitimate money earned before any of this started. I withdrew it in small amounts over months so it wouldn't raise flags." "Victor said the FBI would trace it. He's bluffing. Cash withdrawals from my personal account aren't illegal. He's trying to scare you." "It's working." They sat in silence for a moment. "What's your plan?" Ethan finally asked. "You said you were close to proving everything. Close to what?" Scarlett pulled out her laptop, opened it. "I've been tracking Victor's transactions. I have account numbers, dates, amounts, but I need something concrete, something that ties him directly to the fraud. And I think I found it." She turned the screen toward him. A document filled with numbers, highlighted sections, notes in the margins. "This is a contract between Vaughn Technologies and a company called Meridian Holdings. $10 million for consulting services. But Meridian doesn't exist. It's a shell company Victor created. The money went straight into an offshore account under his name. Can you prove that?" "I can prove Meridian doesn't exist. I can prove the money was transferred. But I need access to the offshore account records to prove Victor owns it, and those are locked behind passwords and security I can't crack from a cabin in the woods." "So what do you need?" "A hacker, someone good enough to break through." "And you know someone like that?" "I did, but he's been radio silent for 2 weeks. Either he's scared or Victor got to him first." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "This is insane." "I know. You're asking me to trust that you're telling the truth, that Victor's the bad guy, that all of this is real." "I am." "And if you're lying, if this is all some elaborate con?" Scarlett met his eyes. "Then I'm the best liar you've ever met. And you should walk away right now." He wanted to. Every rational part of his brain screamed at him to leave, to go home, to take Maya and disappear somewhere Victor Langley couldn't find them. But he thought about the fear in Scarlett's eyes, the way she'd looked at Maya's drawings, the way she'd said thank you like she meant it. And he thought about Victor's threat. "Your daughter grows up visiting you through glass." No one threatened Maya. "What do you need from me?" Ethan asked. Scarlett blinked. "What?" "You heard me. What did you need?" "Ethan, I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. So tell me what you need." She stared at him like she couldn't quite believe what she was hearing. Then she nodded. "Time. I need time to find another hacker, someone who can crack those accounts. And I need to stay hidden while I do it." "How long?" 3 days, maybe 4. "That's longer than..." "I know, but it's what I need." Ethan thought about it. 4 more days. 4 more days of lying to Maya, of looking over his shoulder, of waiting for Victor to make good on his threats. But if Scarlett was telling the truth, if Victor really was the criminal here, then walking away meant letting him win. Okay, Ethan said. 4 days. But you stay here. You don't contact me unless it's an emergency. And when this is over, you turn yourself in. Properly. With evidence and lawyers and everything by the book. Deal. He turned to leave, then stopped. Scarlett? Yeah? If you're lying to me, if any of this is a con, I will make sure everyone knows. The FBI, the media, everyone. I'll burn you. I wouldn't expect anything less. He left her there, alone in the cabin, and drove home through darkness that felt heavier than before. At home, he checked on Maya, still asleep, still safe, then sat in his kitchen with the $20,000 spread on the table. Blood money or salvation? He still couldn't decide which. His phone buzzed. Text from Victor. Offer expires in 24 hours. Choose wisely. Ethan deleted it. Then he turned off his phone, hid the money in a new spot, inside the air vent in the basement, behind a filter no one ever changed, and tried to sleep. He didn't. The next morning came with rain. Ethan woke to the sound of it hammering against the windows, that particular autumn rain that felt like the sky was trying to drown the world. He hadn't slept more than an hour at a time, jerking awake every time a car passed or a branch scraped the roof. Maya was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with her cereal, watching cartoons on the tablet he let her use on weekends. Except it wasn't the weekend. You're up early, he said. Couldn't sleep. She didn't look away from the screen. Too loud. The rain, she meant. But Ethan wondered if she could feel it too. The tension that had settled over the house like fog. He made coffee, burned his toast, scraped the black parts into the sink. His hands felt clumsy, disconnected from his brain. Dad? Yeah? When's your friend coming back? He turned to look at her. What friend? The one who was staying here, the quiet one. She's not coming back, sweetheart. She had to go home. Oh, Maya pushed cereal around her bowl. I liked her. You didn't even meet her. I saw her. Through the crack in my door, she looked sad. Ethan's chest tightened. When did you see her? The first night. I got up to get water and she was sitting on the stairs. Just sitting there in the dark. Maya finally looked up at him. Is she okay? He wanted to lie. Wanted to say yes, she's fine, everything's fine, don't worry about it. But Maya had his eyes. His mother's eyes. The kind that saw through bullshit. I don't know, he said honestly. I hope so. She nodded, satisfied with that answer in a way that made him ache. Can I stay home today? My stomach hurts. Does it really hurt, or do you just not want to go to school? Both. At least she was honest. Get dressed. If you still feel bad after breakfast, we'll see. She groaned but shuffled off to her room. Ethan drank his coffee and watched the rain and tried not to think about Scarlett alone in that cabin. His phone buzzed. He'd turned it back on out of habit, and now he regretted it. Text from unknown number. Time's up. Make your choice. Victor. Ethan deleted it, but 3 more came in rapid succession. Think about your daughter. Think about your future. Last chance. He blocked the number. 2 seconds later, a new number appeared. You can't ignore this, Mr. Cole. Ethan threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall, clattered to the floor. The screen didn't crack. Maya appeared in the doorway, dressed for school, eyes wide. Sorry, he said quickly. Phone slipped. She didn't believe him. He could tell, but she didn't push it. They drove to school in silence, windshield wipers thumping a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. When he pulled up to the drop-off line, Maya unbuckled but didn't get out. Dad? Are we safe? The question hit him like a fist. Of course we're safe. Why would you ask that? You keep looking in the mirrors like you're checking if someone's following us. He had been. He hadn't realized she'd noticed. Nobody's following us. I'm just being careful. Because of the sad lady? No, just because. Maya studied him with those 2 smart eyes, then leaned over and hugged him, hard. Love you, Dad. Love you too, sweetheart. She got out, backpack bouncing, and ran through the rain toward the school entrance. Ethan waited until she was inside before pulling away. He checked the mirrors. No one was following him. Probably. Work was impossible. He cut a board 3 inches too short, hammered his thumb instead of a nail, dropped a level that shattered on concrete. Danny pulled him aside at lunch. Go home. I'm fine. You're a liability. Whatever's going on, you need to deal with it. Take the rest of the day. Ethan wanted to argue, but Danny's face said the conversation was over. He left, drove home, sat in his driveway for 10 minutes, staring at the house, wondering when it had started feeling like enemy territory. Inside, everything looked normal. Coffee cup in the sink, Maya's drawings on the fridge, the crack in the ceiling he kept meaning to patch. Normal, except for the envelope on the kitchen table. White, unmarked, sealed. Ethan's blood went cold. He hadn't left an envelope. The doors had been locked. Someone had been inside. He grabbed a kitchen knife, same one from before, and cleared the house room by room, closets, under beds, behind doors. Empty. All of it. The envelope sat where he'd left it. He opened it with shaking hands. Inside, a single piece of paper, typewritten. Your daughter is beautiful. I especially like the blue dress she wore yesterday. The one with the flowers. She's very careful crossing the street. You've taught her well. It would be a shame if something happened to her on the way home from school. Children are so fragile. One moment of inattention and everything changes. You have until 6 p.m. to call me. After that, I can't guarantee her safety. No signature, no number. But Ethan knew exactly who'd sent it. The knife fell from his hand, clattered on the floor. Maya. Victor was threatening Maya. Not abstractly, not hypothetically. Specifically. The blue dress. Yesterday. Someone had been watching her. Ethan's vision tunneled. His hands shook so hard he had to grip the counter to stay upright. 6 p.m. 3 hours from now. He grabbed his phone, scrolled to Victor's blocked numbers, unblocked one. It rang twice. Mr. Cole, I was hoping you'd call. If you touch my daughter, I'm not going to touch her. I'm simply pointing out how vulnerable she is. How easy it would be for something to go wrong. Victor's voice was calm, reasonable, like they were discussing the weather. You want to keep her safe. I want to find Scarlett. Our interests align. You son of a bitch. Name-calling won't help, but cooperation will. Tell me where Scarlett is and I guarantee your daughter's safety. How do I know you'll keep your word? You don't, but what choice do you have? Ethan's mind raced. He could call the police, show them the letter, but Victor would deny it. No fingerprints, no signature, no proof. And by the time they investigated, it might be too late. He could grab Maya from school right now, run, disappear, but Victor had resources, money, connections. He'd find them. I need time to think, Ethan said. You have until 6. That's not enough. It's more than generous. 6 p.m., Mr. Cole. Don't make me demonstrate how serious I am. The line went dead. Ethan stood in his kitchen, the letter crumpled in his fist, and felt the walls closing in. He had 3 hours. 3 hours to decide if he was going to betray Scarlett or risk his daughter's life. There was no choice. There'd never been a choice. He grabbed his keys. The drive to the cabin took 35 minutes instead of 40. Ethan pushed the truck harder than he should have, tires sliding on wet pavement, rain blurring everything to gray. Scarlett's Honda was still there. He didn't knock, just pushed the door open. She was at the table, laptop open, headphones on. She spun around, startled, reaching for something. It's me, Ethan said. She relaxed. You scared the hell out of me. We have a problem. What kind of problem? He handed her the letter. She read it once, twice. Her face went pale. When did this arrive? I found it an hour ago. Someone broke into my house, left it on my kitchen table. Victor, obviously. Ethan paced the small space. He knows about Maya. He's been watching her. And if I don't tell him where you are by 6 p.m., he's going to... He couldn't finish the sentence. Scarlett set the letter down carefully, like it might explode. You have to give me up. What? Tell him where I am. It's the only way to keep her safe. He'll kill you. Maybe. But your daughter will be alive. She looked at him, and something in her expression had shifted. No more fear, just resignation. This is my fault. I dragged you into this. I can't let Maya pay for my mistakes. Ethan wanted to argue, wanted to say they'd find another way, but the clock was ticking and he couldn't see a path that didn't end with someone getting hurt. There has to be another option, he said. There isn't. Victor's too smart, too connected. If we run, he'll find us. If we fight, we'll lose. She closed the laptop. Call him. Tell him I'm here. End this before it gets worse. And then what? You just let him win? I let your daughter stay safe. That's not losing. Ethan looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't scared anymore. She was calm, decided. And he realized she'd been expecting this. Maybe not this exact scenario, but something like it. The inevitable endpoint of running from someone with unlimited resources. How long have you been planning to turn yourself in? He asked. Since the moment I saw that letter yesterday. The one Victor left on your porch. She stood. I knew he'd escalate. I just didn't think it would be this fast. So all that talk about proving your innocence was real, but it was also a long shot. And long shots don't matter when children are involved. She grabbed her jacket. Make the call. I'll be ready. Ethan pulled out his phone, stared at Victor's number. His thumb hovered over the call button, then stopped. Wait. Ethan? Just wait. His mind was spinning, pieces clicking together. Victor wants you. Specifically, you. Not just caught. He wants to control how and when and where. So why? If he just wanted you arrested, he could have called the FBI weeks ago. Could have let them find you. Scarlett frowned. I don't understand. He's trying to get to you before the authorities do, which means there's something he needs from you, something only you have. Her eyes widened. The evidence. What evidence? I made backups of everything. The files, the transactions, all of it, encrypted and stored in 3 different locations. She grabbed the laptop again, fingers flying over keys. If I disappear, if I die, the encryption releases automatically and everything goes public. It's my insurance policy. Does Victor know about this? He knows I had a backup plan, but he doesn't know what it is or how to stop it. She looked up at him. That's why he wants me alive. He needs the encryption keys, and I'm the only one who has them. Ethan's pulse quickened. So we have leverage. We have a dead man's switch. It's not the same thing. It's enough. He started pacing again, faster now. Victor thinks he's in control. He thinks threatening Maya will make me give you up. But if we can prove he's the one making threats, if we can turn this around on him, how? We have no proof. The letter's not signed. There's no recording of him saying he'll hurt her. Then we get proof. We make him say it. Ethan, that's insane. You have a better idea? Scarlett opened her mouth, closed it. No. Then we try this. We set a trap. Get Victor on record threatening Maya, get him to admit what he's doing, and then we take that recording straight to the FBI. And if it doesn't work, then I call him at 6 and tell him where you are. But at least we tried. She studied him for a long moment. This is a bad plan. I know. It could get us both killed. I know that too. So why are we doing it? Because I'm tired of running, tired of being scared, and tired of letting bullies win. He met her eyes. Your move. You in or out? Scarlett was quiet. Then she smiled, sharp and dangerous. In, but we're doing this my way. They spent the next hour planning. Scarlett had equipment, recording devices, encrypted phones, backup batteries. Stuff she'd been carrying since she first went on the run. You always travel with spy gear? Ethan asked. When you're fighting a billionaire, you learn to be prepared. The plan was simple. Too simple, probably. Ethan would call Victor, agree to give up Scarlett's location, but insist on meeting in person first. Somewhere public. Somewhere with witnesses. Scarlett would wire Ethan with a recording device. Get Victor to admit he'd threatened Maya. Get him to say enough to incriminate himself. Then they'd take the recording to the FBI. What if he doesn't show up? Ethan asked. He will. He's too arrogant not to. Scarlett attached a small microphone to the inside of Ethan's collar. Victor thinks he's won. He'll want to see your face when you hand me over. And if he searches me, finds the wire, then we're screwed. She stepped back, checking the connection. But he won't. You're not a threat, you're just a scared father protecting his kid. He'll underestimate you. Ethan hoped she was right. At 5:30, he made the call. Victor answered on the first ring. Cutting it close, Mr. Cole. I'll tell you where she is, but I want to meet. Face to face. That's not necessary. It is for me. You want Scarlett? You meet me first, otherwise you get nothing. Silence on the line. Ethan could practically hear Victor calculating odds. Where? Victor finally said. Riverside Park. By the fountain. 30 minutes. Very public, very smart. A pause. I'll be there. Come alone. I will. You do the same. Of course. The line went dead. Scarlett looked at him. You're sure about this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. She handed him a phone. Burner, encrypted. If anything goes wrong, if you even think it's going wrong, you run. Don't try to be a hero. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy trying to protect his kid. Sometimes that's the same thing. Ethan checked his watch, 5:35. He had 25 minutes to get to the park, and maybe an hour before his entire life fell apart. One more thing, Scarlett said. She pulled a thumb drive from her laptop, pressed it into his hand. If I don't make it, if Victor gets to me before this is over, you give this to the FBI. It has everything, the real files, the evidence, all of it. You're not going to die. Probably not. But insurance is good. She squeezed his hand. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank me when this is over. He left her in the cabin and drove toward the city, rain still falling, wipers beating their rhythm. The park was nearly empty when he arrived. Rain had chased everyone inside except a few joggers and a homeless man sleeping on a bench. The fountain sat in the center, water cascading over stone tiers, misting in the wind. Ethan stood beside it, hands in his pockets, trying not to look nervous. The recording device felt like a brand against his chest. At exactly 6 o'clock, a black Mercedes pulled into the parking lot. Victor Langley got out. Alone, as promised. Expensive coat, umbrella, the kind of calm confidence that came from never having lost. He walked over, stopped 10 feet away. Mr. Cole. Victor. I appreciate you being reasonable about this. For your daughter's sake. Ethan's jaw tightened. Where is she? Your guy. The one watching her. There's no one watching her. That was simply motivation. You're lying, perhaps. But does it matter? You're here. You're cooperating. That's all I needed. Ethan forced himself to stay calm, to let Victor talk, to get him on record. Why do you want Scarlett so badly? If she's really guilty, let the FBI handle it. Victor smiled. You're smarter than you look. Yes, I could let the authorities handle it, but Scarlett has something that belongs to me, and I prefer to retrieve it personally. The evidence, among other things. Victor stepped closer. She told you about the dead man's switch, didn't she? The files that release if something happens to her? Maybe. It's a good strategy. I'll give her credit for that. But it only works if she's actually dead. And I don't plan on killing her. I plan on making her wish she'd never crossed me. There it was. Threat. Admission. All on tape. Ethan's heart pounded. And my daughter? What happens to her? Nothing. As long as you keep your mouth shut and forget this ever happened. Victor tilted his head. You seem nervous, Mr. Cole, shaking even. Are you wearing a wire? Ethan's blood went cold. What? No. Then you won't mind if I check. Victor moved fast, grabbed Ethan's collar, ripped it open. The microphone clattered to the wet pavement. For a second, neither of them moved. Then Victor's expression shifted. Cold. Dangerous. You just made a very bad decision. Ethan ran. He bolted toward the parking lot, feet slipping on wet concrete. Behind him, he heard Victor shouting, not at him, at someone else. A second man appeared from behind the Mercedes, huge, built like a wall. Ethan's truck was 50 yards away, might as well have been a mile. The big man closed the distance in seconds, grabbed Ethan's jacket, yanked him backward. Ethan swung wild. His fist connected with something, jaw, maybe, but it was like punching concrete. The man hit him back. Once. Hard. Ethan's vision exploded white. He tasted blood. Then he was on the ground, rain pounding his face, the man's weight crushing his chest. Where is she? Victor's voice, close now, calm. Where's Scarlett? Ethan couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The pressure on his chest increased. I'll ask one more time. Where? Sirens. Distant, but getting closer. Victor froze. Police? The big man looked up. Someone must have called. Get him up. We're leaving. They hauled Ethan to his feet. His legs barely worked. Blood ran into his eye from a cut above his brow. Victor leaned in close. This isn't over. I will find her. And when I do, I'll make sure you watch. Then they were gone. Mercedes peeling out of the parking lot just as two police cruisers turned in. Ethan collapsed against his truck, shaking. An officer approached. Sir, are you all right? We got a call about a fight. I'm fine. You're bleeding. I said I'm fine. Ethan wiped blood from his face. Just a misunderstanding. The officer didn't look convinced. Do you need medical attention? No, I just want to go home. They took his statement anyway. Ethan lied through his teeth, said it was a mugging, said he didn't get a good look at the guys, said he didn't want to press charges. The officers exchanged glances but eventually let him go. Ethan drove back to the cabin on autopilot, hands shaking on the wheel. When he stumbled through the door, Scarlett was already packing. What happened? She saw his face. Oh no, no. He found the wire. It's over. Did you get anything? Maybe. I don't know. He said some things before he found it. Ethan collapsed onto the couch. But it doesn't matter. He knows we tried to trap him. He's going to come after both of us now. Scarlett was already moving, grabbing the laptop, the burner phones, everything that mattered. We need to leave. Right now. Where are we going to go? Somewhere he can't find us. There is nowhere he can't find us. Ethan's voice cracked. He has money, resources, people. We can't run from him. We don't have a choice. Yes, we do. Ethan stood, wincing at the pain in his ribs. We stop running. We go public. Right now. Tonight. Scarlett stared at him. What? You said you have evidence. The dead man's switch. Files that prove everything. So we release them. All of it. We go to the press, the FBI, everyone. We bury Victor before he can bury us. That's suicide. Victor will spin it. He'll say the files are fake. Then we make it impossible to ignore. We don't just release files. We tell the story. Your story. On camera. With proof. Ethan, that's insane. So is waiting for him to kill us. He grabbed her shoulders. You said you were close to proving everything, so prove it. Right now. Let's end this. Scarlett looked at him, really looked at him, saw the blood on his face, the desperation in his eyes, the absolute conviction. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, let's do it. They worked through the night. Scarlett downloaded files, organized evidence, built a timeline that connected Victor to every fraudulent transaction. Ethan called a reporter he'd found online, investigative journalist known for taking down corrupt executives. She didn't believe him at first, but when Scarlett started sending files, when the evidence mounted, her tone changed. This is real, the reporter said. This is really real. Can you run it? Ethan asked. Can I? This is the biggest story of the year, but I need time to verify. We don't have time. It needs to go live tonight. That's not how journalism works. Tonight. Or Victor Langley makes sure no one ever sees it. The reporter was quiet for a moment. Give me 4 hours. I'll have something ready by midnight. They hung up. Scarlett looked at Ethan. 4 hours. Think we can last that long? We better. At 11:30, headlights appeared on the dirt road. Not one car. 3. Scarlett saw them first. We need to go. Now! They grabbed what they could, laptops, phones, the thumb drive, and ran for Ethan's truck. The first car was already pulling up to the cabin. Ethan gunned the engine, tires spinning in mud, finally catching traction. They flew down the dirt road, branches scraping the sides, the 3 cars in pursuit. They're gaining, Scarlett said. I know. The road forked ahead, left toward the highway, right toward nothing. Ethan went right. What are you doing? Trust me. The truck bounced over ruts, headlights cutting through darkness. Behind them, the pursuing cars struggled with the terrain. Then the road ended. Just ended. Trees on 3 sides, a steep drop on the 4th. Ethan slammed the brakes. Now what? Scarlett asked. Now we wait for midnight. They're going to find us. I know. He pulled out his phone. 11:58. 2 minutes. The cars appeared through the trees, stopped 50 yards away. Doors opened. Men got out. 4 of them, including the big one from the park. And Victor. He walked toward the truck, hands in his pockets, completely calm. Mr. Cole, Miss Vaughn, this is disappointing. I really hoped we could resolve this civilly. Ethan checked his phone. 11:59. It's over, Victor, Scarlett called through the window. I sent everything to the press. By tomorrow, everyone will know what you did. Victor smiled. No, they won't, because you're not going to be around to corroborate the story. And without you, the files are just noise. Midnight. Ethan's phone buzzed. Email notification. Subject. Breaking. Tech CEO Victor Langley accused of massive fraud, the reporter had published. Ethan held up his phone, showed Victor the screen. Too late. Victor's smile vanished. For the first time since this started, Ethan saw fear in his eyes. It's already live. New York Times, Washington Post, Bloomberg. Everyone. Your face is everywhere. Your crimes are everywhere. Scarlett leaned out the window. Congratulations, Victor. You're famous? Victor stared at the phone, at the headline, at his empire crumbling in real time. Then he pulled out a gun. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. Everything happened at once. Victor raised the weapon. Ethan threw the truck in reverse, tires screaming. A shot rang out. The back window exploded. Scarlett screamed. Ethan kept reversing, spinning the wheel, turning the truck around. Another shot. This one hit the tailgate. Then they were moving forward, crashing through underbrush, finding a path that wasn't really a path. Behind them, Victor was shouting at his men, ordering them to follow. But the truck was built for this. The Mercedes weren't. Ethan drove like a madman, bouncing over rocks and roots, following instinct more than vision. After 10 minutes, they hit pavement. After 20, they hit the highway. After 30, Scarlett started crying, not from fear, from relief. We did it, she said. We actually did it. Ethan's hands were still shaking on the wheel. We're not safe yet. No, but we're alive, and Victor's finished. His phone rang. The reporter. Turn on the news, any channel. You need to see this. Ethan pulled into a gas station, found a TV inside. Every channel was running the same story. Victor Langley's face. The accusations, the evidence. And at the bottom of the screen, FBI issues warrant for Langley's arrest. They'd won. Against every odd, against every resource Victor had, they'd actually won. Ethan looked at Scarlett. What now? Now I turn myself in, properly, with lawyers and evidence and everything by the book. She smiled. And you go home to your daughter. Just like that? Just like that? But they both knew it wasn't over. Not really. This was just the end of one chapter. The beginning of whatever came next. They sat in the gas station parking lot for 20 minutes, watching the news cycle repeat itself on Ethan's phone. Victor Langley's face appeared again and again, each iteration adding new details. Federal agents had raided his office. His assets were being frozen. 3 board members had already resigned. The empire was collapsing in real time. I need to call my lawyer, Scarlett said finally. She looked exhausted, like the adrenaline had drained out all at once and left nothing but hollow relief. Before the FBI shows up at my doorstep. You have a lawyer? I have 3. One for corporate, one for criminal defense, and one who specializes in making problems disappear. She managed a weak smile. Guess I need the middle one now. Ethan's phone buzzed. Not a news alert this time. A call from his sister. He answered. Jess? Where the hell are you? Her voice was sharp with worry. I've been calling for 2 hours. Maya's been asking for you. Maya. His heart stopped. In the chaos of running from Victor, of racing to beat midnight, he'd forgotten to pick up his daughter. Is she okay? She's fine. She's here with me. But Ethan, what's going on? There were police at your house earlier asking questions, and now there's news about some tech CEO, and I'll explain everything. I'm coming to get her now. You better. She's worried about you. We both are. He hung up and looked at Scarlett. I need to go. I know. What about you? Where will you go? FBI field office, downtown. My lawyer's meeting me there in an hour. She pulled her jacket tighter. This is where we say goodbye, I think. The words hung between them. Ethan had spent the last 4 days trying to get rid of her, counting down hours until she'd be gone from his life. Now that the moment was here, it felt wrong, unfinished. Thank you, he said, for not letting me just hand you over, for fighting. You fought too, harder than you should have. Scarlett reached out, squeezed his hand. Take care of Maya. And Ethan, don't tell her about any of this. Let her think her dad's just a normal guy who fixes houses. She already knows I'm not normal. She's too smart for her own good. Then she gets that from you. Scarlett got out of the truck, taking only her laptop bag and one small backpack. Everything else she left behind. She started walking toward the road, thumb out like she was hitchhiking. Wait, Ethan called. How are you getting downtown? I'll figure it out. Get in. I'll drop you at your lawyer's office. You need to get to Maya. It's on the way. Get in. She did. They drove in silence for a while, the city lights growing brighter as they left the rural darkness behind. On the radio, another news update. Victor Langley had been taken into custody. No bail. Federal prosecutors were calling it the biggest corporate fraud case in a decade. They're going to want to talk to you too, Scarlett said quietly. The FBI. They'll have questions about where you were, what you know, why you were involved. I'll tell them the truth. The truth makes you look like an accomplice. Then I'll get a lawyer too. Work it out. He glanced at her. I'm not hiding anymore. From Victor, from the FBI, from anyone. That simple? That's simple. She smiled. You know, when I first broke into your house, I thought you'd be easy to manipulate. Desperate single dad, needs money, won't ask too many questions. She shook her head. I was wrong about you. You were wrong about a lot of things. Yeah, I was. They pulled up outside a sleek glass building downtown. Scarlett's lawyer was already waiting, a woman in her 50s with gray hair pulled back tight and the kind of face that had seen everything twice. Scarlett got out, then leaned back through the window. If things get complicated, if the FBI gives you trouble, call my lawyer. Sandra Chen. She's expensive, but she's good. Tell her I sent you. I can't afford... You have $20,000. That'll cover the retainer. Ethan's stomach twisted. The money. He'd almost forgotten about it, hidden in his basement vent. Scarlett, I can't take that. It's evidence. It's payment for services rendered. You hid me. You protected me. You nearly died helping me expose Victor. You earned it. She straightened up. Don't be stupid, Ethan. Take the money. Take care of your daughter. And maybe call me when this is all over. Call you, if you want. No pressure. She smiled, and for the first time since he'd met her, it looked real. Not calculated, not strategic, just human. I owe you dinner at the very least. Then she was gone, walking into the building with her lawyer, disappearing into whatever came next. Ethan sat in the truck for a moment, processing. Then he drove to his sister's house. Jess lived in a suburb 20 minutes from downtown, in one of those neighborhoods where every house looked the same and everyone pretended to be happy. Her husband Tom answered the door, looking concerned. She's in the living room, he said. Been asking about you every 10 minutes. Maya was curled up on the couch with a blanket, watching a movie she'd seen 100 times. When she saw Ethan, her face crumpled. Dad! She ran to him and he caught her, lifted her up even though she was getting too big for it. She wrapped her arms around his neck and held on tight. I'm sorry I'm late, sweetheart. I got held up. Aunt Jess said you were working, but you look hurt. She touched the cut above his eyebrow, the one from Victor's man. What happened? Just an accident. I'm fine. You're bleeding. Not anymore. It stopped. Maya didn't look convinced, but she let him set her down. Jess appeared from the kitchen, arms crossed. We need to talk. I know. Not here. Outside. They stepped onto the porch, leaving Tom to distract Maya with cookies. Jess rounded on him the second the door closed. What the hell is going on? Police came to your house. There's news about some CEO getting arrested. And you show up here looking like you got in a bar fight. She grabbed his chin, turned his face to examine the cut. Did you get in a bar fight? It's complicated. Uncomplicate it. So he told her, not everything, not the full insanity of the last 4 days, but enough. A woman had needed help. He'd helped her. Things got dangerous. But it was over now. Jess listened without interrupting, her expression cycling through disbelief, anger, and something close to fear. You could have been killed, she said when he finished, but I wasn't. You could have gotten Maya hurt. That's why I kept her away from it. That's why I'm here now instead of what? Running off with some fugitive billionaire? Jess shook her head. What were you thinking? I was thinking someone needed help and I could give it. That's not your job, Ethan. Your job is keeping Maya safe, being there for her, not playing hero for strangers. The words stung because they were true. You're right, he said quietly. I screwed up. I put her at risk and I'm sorry. But it's done now. Victor Langley's in custody. The woman's turning herself in. Everything's going back to normal. Normal? Jess laughed bitterly. You don't even know what that word means anymore. She was probably right about that too. They stood in silence for a moment, the neighborhood quiet around them except for distant traffic and someone's dog barking. Are you in trouble? Jess asked finally. Legally? I don't know yet. Maybe. The FBI might want to talk to me. Then get a lawyer. A good one. Don't try to handle this yourself. I won't. And Ethan? She softened slightly. Next time someone breaks into your house, call the cops. Don't negotiate. Don't make deals. Just call the damn cops. There won't be a next time. There better not be. He took Maya home around midnight. She fell asleep in the truck, head against the window, and he carried her inside and tucked her into bed without waking her. The house felt different, emptier, like Scarlett's presence had somehow filled space he hadn't known was hollow. He checked all the locks twice, made coffee he didn't drink, sat at the kitchen table and stared at nothing. His phone buzzed, text from unknown number. For a second his chest tightened, Victor, his men, another threat, but it was Scarlett. Made it to FBI. Lawyer says I'll probably be here a while. Don't worry about me. Take care of Maya, and thank you for everything. S. He typed a response, deleted it, typed another. Finally settled on, good luck. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. You too. That was it. No promises to stay in touch. No plans to meet up when this was over. Just 2 people who'd survived something impossible, going back to their separate lives. Ethan set the phone down and went to bed. The next 3 days were a blur. News crews camped outside his house. Reporters called constantly. The FBI showed up twice, once to ask questions, once to serve him with a subpoena to testify before a grand jury. He hired Sandra Chen. She cost exactly what Scarlett said she would, and she was worth every penny. Within 48 hours, she'd negotiated his testimony down to a deposition, convinced the prosecutors he was a witness, not a suspect, and made it clear that any attempt to charge him would result in a very public fight they wouldn't win. You're lucky, Sandra told him during their second meeting. Scarlett's testimony corroborates everything you said, and the evidence she provided is so overwhelming that no one cares about your involvement. You're a footnote in a much bigger story. That's all I want to be. Good. Stay boring, stay quiet, and for the love of everything, stop answering questions without calling me first. He promised he would. Maya noticed the reporters, the attention, the way strangers looked at their house now. Are we famous? She asked one morning. No, we're just, temporarily interesting. Because of your friend, the sad lady? Yeah. Is she okay now? Ethan thought about that. He'd seen Scarlett's face on TV, walking into federal court with Sandra, looking composed and professional and nothing like the terrified woman who'd hidden in his guest room. The charges against her had been dropped. She was cooperating fully with the investigation into Victor. Her company was in chaos, but she was fighting to take it back. I think she's going to be, he said. Good, I liked her. You didn't even talk to her. I know, but she seemed nice, sad, but nice. Kids, they saw things adults missed. Work was awkward for about a week. Guys on the crew kept asking questions. Is it true you hit a billionaire? Did you really get 20 grand? What was she like? Until Danny shut it down. Leave him alone, man's been through enough. But even Danny pulled Ethan aside one afternoon, curious. This woman, Scarlett. Was she really innocent? Yeah, she was. And you believed her? Just like that? Not just like that. But eventually, yeah. Danny nodded slowly. Takes guts, believing someone when the whole world's calling them a liar. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing. 2 weeks after everything went down, Ethan got a call from an unknown number. He almost didn't answer. He'd gotten good at ignoring unknowns, but something made him pick up. Mr. Cole? A woman's voice, professional. This is Rebecca Marsh from the FBI. I'm calling to inform you that Victor Langley has been formally indicted on 43 counts of fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. We wanted to thank you for your cooperation in the investigation. I didn't do much. You did more than you think. Your testimony helped establish the timeline, and the recording you attempted to make, even though it was interrupted, provided crucial evidence of witness intimidation. Ethan had almost forgotten about the wire, the microphone that Victor had ripped off his collar. Did you get anything from it? Enough. Combined with Ms. Vaughn's testimony and the documentary evidence, we have an airtight case. Mr. Langley will be going to prison for a very long time. After she hung up, Ethan sat with that information. Victor Langley, the man who'd threatened his daughter, who'd sent men to beat him, who'd nearly killed them both in those woods, going to prison. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it just felt like the end of something exhausting. Life started to normalize. The reporters moved on to other stories. The FBI stopped calling. Maya's school routine resumed. Homework, soccer practice, the endless cycle of childhood that had been disrupted but not broken. Ethan went back to work, back to measuring twice and cutting once, back to the simple rhythm of construction that made sense in a way nothing else did anymore. But the money sat in his basement vent, untouched. $20,000. He couldn't bring himself to spend it, couldn't bring himself to deposit it. It felt like evidence of something, though evidence of what, he couldn't say. 3 weeks after everything ended, his phone rang. Not unknown this time. A saved contact. Scarlett. He stared at the screen for 3 rings before answering. Hello? Hey. Her voice sounded different, lighter. Is this a bad time? No, I'm just surprised. That I called? Yeah, I said I would. Eventually. A pause. How are you? Fine, good. Things are back to normal, mostly. And Maya? She's great. Doesn't really understand what happened, which is probably for the best. Probably. Scarlett was quiet for a moment. I wanted to thank you again, properly, not just a text at midnight. You don't have to, but I do. You saved my life, Ethan. You didn't have to, and you did anyway. That means something. You saved mine too, when you refused to let me just give up. So we're even? I guess we are. Another pause. Longer this time. I'm rebuilding the company, Scarlett said. It's going to take years. The board's a mess, half the investors pulled out, and the media's watching every move I make. But I'm doing it. I'm actually doing it. That's good. I'm glad. And I was thinking, that dinner I mentioned, the one I owe you. If you're ever downtown, if you ever want to, She stopped. Sorry, that's stupid. You probably never want to see me again. It's not stupid. No? No? Ethan surprised himself with the answer. I'd like that. Dinner. Sometime. Really? Really. Just not right now. I need some time to process everything, to figure out what normal looks like again. I understand. Take all the time you need. She sounded relieved. I'm not going anywhere. They talked for another 10 minutes. Nothing important. Just the kind of small talk that people make when they're not ready to say goodbye but don't know what else to say. When they finally hung up, Ethan felt something shift in his chest. Not closure exactly, but maybe the beginning of it. That weekend he took Maya to the park. The same park where Victor had found the wire, where everything had nearly fallen apart. It felt important to reclaim it somehow, to turn it back into just a park instead of a crime scene. Maya ran straight for the swings. Ethan pushed her, higher and higher, her laughter cutting through the autumn air. Higher, Dad! Any higher, and you'll fly away. Good! I want to fly! He pushed harder, watching her arc through the air, fearless and free and completely unaware of how close they'd come to losing everything. When she finally jumped off, landed rough, scraped her knee, popped back up like nothing happened, Ethan felt his throat tighten. This was what mattered. This moment, this kid, this normal, messy, beautiful life. Everything else, the money, the danger, the impossible choices, had been worth it to get back here. Dad? Maya ran back over, breathless. Can we get ice cream? It's almost dinner time. So? Ice cream can be dinner. That's not how nutrition works. Please? She gave him the eyes, the ones that always worked. Fine, but don't tell Aunt Jess. Deal. They walked to the ice cream shop 2 blocks away, hand in hand. Maya got chocolate with sprinkles. Ethan got vanilla because he was boring and accepted it. They sat on a bench, eating in comfortable silence. Dad? Yeah, sweetheart? Are you happy? The question caught him off guard. What kind of question is that? I don't know. You seem different lately, like something changed. Good different or bad different? Maya thought about it, tongue working at her ice cream. Good, I think. You smile more, even when you think I'm not looking. Ethan hadn't realized he'd been smiling. I am happy, he said. I've got you. I've got a job. I've got a house that mostly doesn't leak. What else do I need? A girlfriend. He nearly choked on his ice cream. What? Aunt Jess says you need a girlfriend. She says you're too lonely. Aunt Jess needs to mind her own business. So you don't want a girlfriend? I didn't say that. Ethan wiped ice cream off her chin with a napkin. But I'm not looking for one either. I'm fine how I am. Okay. Maya went back to her cone. But if you did get a girlfriend, I think the sad lady would be good. The sad? You mean Scarlett? Yeah, she was nice, and you talked about her a lot when you thought I wasn't listening. I did not eat. You did. You and Aunt Jess. I heard you through the vent. Note to self, check the vents before having private conversations. Scarlett and I are just friends, Ethan said carefully. And that's all we're going to be. Okay. Maya clearly didn't believe him, but she let it drop. They finished their ice cream and walked home through streets that felt safer now. Lighter somehow. Like a weight had lifted without him noticing. At home, Maya did homework while Ethan started dinner. His phone buzzed. Text from Scarlett. Just saw the news. Victor's bail was denied. He's staying in custody until trial. Ethan typed back. Good. 3 dots. Then, yeah, good. Another pause, then, how's Maya? Currently doing math homework and complaining about it. Normal kid stuff. The best kind of stuff. The dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, I'm glad you're okay, Ethan. Both of you. You too. He set the phone down and went back to cooking. Spaghetti again. He really needed to expand his repertoire, but Maya didn't complain. They ate dinner together, talking about her day, about the tree costume that was coming along, about nothing and everything. Normal. That night, after Maya was asleep, Ethan went down to the basement, pulled the vent cover off, took out the money. $20,000 in $100 bills. He counted it just to be sure. All there. Then he sat on the basement floor staring at it, trying to decide what to do. He could keep it, use it for Maya's college fund, for the truck repairs, for all the small financial disasters that kept piling up. Or he could donate it, give it to charity, wash his hands of the whole thing. Or he could return it to Scarlett. Tell her he didn't need payment for doing the right thing. Except it hadn't just been the right thing. It had been dangerous and stupid and nearly fatal. And she'd offered the money freely. Insisted he take it. You earned it, she'd said. Had he? Ethan didn't know. What he did know was that Maya needed new shoes, and the water heater was making concerning noises, and his truck registration was due next month. He put the money back in the vent. He'd decide later. The following week, the FBI called again. Not to ask questions this time, just to update him. Victor Langley's trial date had been set. 6 months from now, they'd need Ethan to testify. In court? He asked. Yes, sir, in person. We'll prepare you beforehand, make sure you're comfortable with the process. And if I say no, then we subpoena you. But I'd rather not do that. So testifying wasn't optional. Great. Sandra Chen walked him through what to expect. The cross-examination, the pressure, the way Victor's lawyers would try to discredit him. "They'll make you look like an accomplice," she said, "like you were in on it from the beginning. That's their only play, shift blame away from Victor onto anyone else they can." Will it work? Not if you stick to the truth. Tell them exactly what happened. Don't embellish, don't speculate, don't get emotional, just facts. I can do that. Good. Because Scarlett's testimony is crucial, but yours corroborates it. You're the independent witness, the guy with no agenda, no reason to lie. Except the $20,000, Sandra waved that away. Payment for legitimate services. You provided shelter and assistance. You earned it. They'll try to make it sound dirty, but it's not. Don't let them shake you. Ethan left her office feeling more nervous than before. 6 months. That's how long he had to prepare. 6 months to figure out how to sit in a courtroom and tell the truth without falling apart. Time moved strangely after that. Days blurred together. Work, Maya, home, repeat. But the trial loomed on the horizon, a deadline he couldn't ignore. Scarlett called once a week, always Sunday evenings after Maya was asleep. They talked about nothing important, her company, his work, the weather, small talk that felt bigger than it was. "You nervous about the trial?" she asked during one call. "Terrified." "Me too. I've testified before, board meetings, investor presentations, but never like this. Never where someone's freedom hangs on what I say." "Do you think he'll get convicted?" "Yes. The evidence is overwhelming, but Victor's lawyers are good. They'll fight. And if they win, they won't." She sounded certain. "They can't. There's too much proof, too many witnesses. Victor's going to prison. It's just a matter of how long." Ethan hoped she was right. 3 months before the trial, he got a letter in the mail. Official looking, heavy paper, embossed letterhead. From Vaughn Technologies. He opened it carefully. Inside, a check, made out to Ethan Cole, for $50,000. He stared at it, brain refusing to process the number. 50,000. There was a note attached, handwritten. "Ethan, this is not payment. This is not a bribe. This is a thank you for risking everything when you didn't have to. For believing me when no one else would. For protecting Maya even when it meant putting yourself in danger. You saved my life and my company. This doesn't come close to repaying that debt, but it's a start. Use it for Maya. Use it for yourself. Use it however you want. You've earned it 100 times over. With gratitude, Scarlett." Ethan sat at his kitchen table, check in one hand, note in the other, and felt something crack open in his chest. Not just gratitude. Something bigger. Something that felt like recognition. Like being seen for the first time in years. He folded the check carefully and put it in his wallet. Then he called Scarlett. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, did you get—" "I can't accept this." "Yes, you can. It's too much." "It's not enough." Her voice was firm. "Ethan, my company's worth $400 million. 50,000 is a rounding error, and you earned every cent of it." "I didn't do it for money." "I know. That's exactly why you deserve it." They argued for 10 minutes. He tried every angle. It was too much. It felt wrong. He couldn't justify it. She countered every argument with calm, unshakable logic. Finally, he gave up. "Fine, I'll take it, but only because Maya needs it." "Take it because you need it too, because you've been running on empty for years and you deserve to breathe." After they hung up, Ethan looked at the check again. $50,000. Combined with the $20,000 still hidden in his basement, that was $70,000 total. Enough to pay off the house. Enough to fix the truck, replace the water heater, buy Maya new clothes and shoes and whatever else she needed. Enough to stop living paycheck to paycheck, stop lying awake at 2 a.m. doing math, stop feeling like he was drowning. Enough to breathe. The next day, he deposited the check. The bank teller's eyes widened when she saw the amount. "Is this real?" "Yeah, it's real." "Congratulations, Mr. Cole." She smiled like she meant it. "Looks like things are looking up." Maybe they were. The trial started on a Tuesday in March, 6 months to the day after everything had begun. Ethan stood outside the federal courthouse in a suit he'd bought specifically for this. The first suit he'd owned since his wedding, and that one didn't fit anymore. Maya had helped him pick the tie, choosing blue because it makes you look like a good guy, Dad. He hoped the jury would agree. Sandra met him at the entrance, looking sharp in a black pantsuit, her expression all business. Remember what we talked about. Answer only what they ask. Don't volunteer information. Don't get defensive. And if you need a break, we can request one. I'll be fine. You say that now. Wait until Victor's lawyer starts tearing into you. She wasn't wrong. Inside, the courtroom was smaller than he'd expected. He'd seen courtrooms on TV, grand, imposing spaces with high ceilings and dramatic lighting. This was just a room, fluorescent lights, worn carpet, seats that had seen better decades. But the people inside made it feel enormous. Victor Langley sat at the defense table in an expensive suit that probably cost more than Ethan's truck, flanked by 3 lawyers who looked like they ate witnesses for breakfast. He didn't look at Ethan, didn't acknowledge him. Just sat there with the kind of calm that came from believing he'd win. Scarlett was already in the gallery, sitting 2 rows behind the prosecution. She caught Ethan's eye and gave a small nod. She looked different again, hair shorter, wearing glasses he hadn't seen before. The kind of professional armor that successful women wore to be taken seriously. But underneath it, he could still see the woman who'd hidden in his guest room, terrified and desperate. The trial moved through opening statements. The prosecutor laid out the case. 50 million in fraudulent transactions, shell companies, falsified records, a conspiracy that spanned 5 years. Victor's lead attorney countered with a simple narrative. Scarlett Vaughn was a troubled woman who'd stolen millions and was now trying to frame her innocent business partner to save herself. It was a lie, but it was a good lie. Coherent, believable, exactly what Ethan had feared. Scarlett testified first. She was on the stand for 3 days, 2 for direct examination, 1 for cross. Ethan watched from the gallery as she methodically dismantled Victor's defense, walking the jury through every transaction, every forged signature, every piece of evidence that proved Victor had orchestrated everything. She was brilliant, calm under pressure, clear in her explanations, unshakable even when Victor's lawyers tried to rattle her. Ms. Vaughn, isn't it true that you have a documented history of mental illness? I saw a therapist after my mother died. That's not a history of mental illness, that's grief. But the therapist's notes mention paranoia, trust issues. The notes mention that I was processing trauma, which is normal, which is healthy. Twisting that into some kind of instability is insulting to everyone who's ever sought help. The lawyer backed off. On day 4, they called Ethan. He walked to the stand with his heart trying to punch through his ribs, raised his right hand, swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor started easy, establishing who he was, what he did, how he knew Scarlett. Mr. Cole, can you tell the jury how you first met the defendant, Scarlett Vaughn? Ethan took a breath. She broke into my house. A murmur went through the courtroom. The prosecutor smiled slightly. Can you elaborate on that? So he did. He told them everything, coming home to find the door unlocked, the dishes washed, Scarlett in his bathroom, the $20,000 offer, his daughter, the decision to help despite knowing the risks. The prosecutor walked him through the timeline, Victor's phone calls, the threatening letter, the confrontation at the park. And during this confrontation, did Mr. Langley make any statements about harming your daughter? He said she was fragile, that one moment of inattention and everything could change. Ethan's voice stayed steady even though his hands were shaking. He described what she was wearing the day before, the blue dress with flowers. He knew details no one should have known unless they were watching her. Objection, Victor's lawyer stood. Speculation. Mr. Cole can't know what Mr. Langley knew or how he knew it. Sustained, the judge said. The prosecutor rephrased. What did you understand Mr. Langley to be communicating? That he was watching my daughter, that if I didn't cooperate, something might happen to her. And how did that make you feel? Terrified, angry, like I'd do anything to keep her safe. Including giving up Ms. Vaughn's location? Yes. But you didn't. No. Because Scarlett convinced me there was another way, that we could expose Victor before he could hurt anyone. The prosecutor walked him through the rest. The failed recording attempt, the escape through the woods, the moment they realized the story had gone public. Mr. Cole, in your interactions with Ms. Vaughn, did she ever exhibit behavior that suggested she was mentally unstable or delusional? No, she was scared, but she was also smart, strategic, and honest about what she was up against. And in your interactions with Mr. Langley, he was calm, too calm, Like threatening a 7-year-old girl was just business. Victor's lawyer objected again. The judge sustained again. But the jury had heard it. Then came cross-examination. Victor's lead attorney was a man named Harrison Price, 50s, silver hair, the kind of smooth confidence that came from winning more than he lost. Mr. Cole, you testified that Ms. Vaughn offered you $20,000. Is that correct? Yes. That's a lot of money for a construction worker. Ethan bristled at the tone but kept his voice level. It's a lot of money for anyone. Did you report this payment to the IRS? I plan to. It's not illegal to accept payment for services. Services. What services did you provide exactly? Shelter, protection, help when she had nowhere else to turn. And you expect the jury to believe you did this out of the goodness of your heart, not for the money? I did it because it was the right thing to do. The money was compensation for the risk. A risk you took willingly. A risk I took because someone needed help. Price smiled like he'd been waiting for that answer. Mr. Cole, how much money have you received from Miss Vaughn in total? Ethan's stomach dropped. He knew where this was going. $70,000. Another murmur from the gallery. The jury shifted in their seats. 70,000. That's quite a bit more than 20, isn't it? The additional 50 was a thank you, after everything was over. A thank you. For testimony that helps her avoid prison? Objection, the prosecutor shot up. Counsel is testifying. Sustained. Rephrase, Mr. Price. Price didn't miss a beat. Mr. Cole, did Ms. Vaughn give you $50,000 before or after you agreed to testify at this trial? After. But it had nothing to do with my testimony. How can you be sure? Because she gave it to me before the trial date was even set, before I knew I'd be called to testify. But you knew an investigation was ongoing. You knew you might be called as a witness. I knew a lot of things. That doesn't mean I was being bribed. Price changed tactics. Mr. Cole, you have a daughter. Maya, is that correct? Ethan's blood went cold. Yes. 7 years old? Yes. And you're a single father, raising her alone. What does that have to do with just establishing context, Mr. Cole? Single father, construction worker, living paycheck to paycheck. Would you say you were in financial difficulty before you met Ms. Vaughn? Sandra half rose from her seat, but Ethan answered before she could object. I was getting by. Getting by. Is that why you accepted $20,000 from a woman accused of stealing $50 million? Because you were just getting by? I accepted it because she offered and I needed it. That doesn't make me a criminal. No one's calling you a criminal, Mr. Cole, but it does make you someone with a financial incentive to support Ms. Vaughn's version of events, doesn't it? My version of events is the truth. Your truth. Which happens to align perfectly with the woman who paid you $70,000. Objection, the prosecutor said, badgering the witness. Sustained. Move on, Mr. Price. But the damage was done. Ethan could see it in the jury's faces. Doubt, suspicion, the question of whether he was lying for money. Price asked a few more questions, poking holes where there weren't any, then dismissed him with a satisfied smile. Ethan walked back to the gallery feeling like he'd failed, like he'd given Victor's team exactly what they needed. Scarlett caught his arm as he passed her row. You did fine, she whispered. He didn't believe her. The trial continued for another week. Expert witnesses, forensic accountants, FBI agents who walked the jury through the evidence trail. By the end, the case against Victor was overwhelming. Documents, recordings, testimony from employees who'd been coerced into participating in the fraud. But Victor's lawyers kept circling back to Scarlett's credibility, her mental health, her relationship with Ethan, the money she'd paid him. Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison Price said in his closing argument, this case isn't about whether money was stolen. It's about who stole it. And the prosecution wants you to believe it was my client, a man with an impeccable record, a man who built a company from nothing, based on the word of a woman who's admitted to hiding from authorities, who paid a witness $70,000, who has every reason to lie to save herself. The prosecutor countered hard. Mr. Price wants you to ignore the evidence, the paper trail, the testimony of multiple witnesses, the fact that every dollar Ms. Vaughn allegedly stole can be traced directly to accounts controlled by Victor Langley. This isn't about credibility, it's about facts, and the facts are clear. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Ethan didn't attend the deliberations. He went back to work, back to normal life, trying not to check his phone every 5 minutes for updates from Sandra. On the second day, she called. "They've reached a verdict. You should come." He picked up Maya from school early, dropped her at Jess's place without explanation, and drove downtown with his heart in his throat. The courtroom was packed. Press, spectators, people who'd followed the case from the beginning. Ethan found a seat in the back next to Scarlett. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. "Hey," he said quietly. "Hey, you okay? Ask me in 10 minutes." The jury filed in. 12 people who'd spent 2 weeks listening to testimony, examining evidence, deciding the fate of a man who thought he was untouchable. The foreman stood. "On the count of wire fraud, how do you find?" "Guilty." Scarlett's hand found Ethan's, squeezed tight. "On the count of embezzlement, how do you find?" "Guilty." "On the count of conspiracy to commit fraud, how do you find?" "Guilty." 43 counts. Guilty on every single one. Victor's face went white. His lawyers were already conferring, planning appeals, but the verdict stood. Guilty. The judge set sentencing for 6 weeks later, remanded Victor to custody without bail. As they let him out, Victor finally looked at Scarlett. Not with anger, with something closer to disbelief, like he couldn't comprehend how he'd lost. She didn't look away, just watched him go with an expression Ethan couldn't read. Outside the courthouse, the press swarmed. Cameras, microphones, reporters shouting questions. Scarlett's PR team had prepared a statement, but she waved them off. She walked to the microphone alone. 6 months ago, I was running for my life, hiding in strangers' houses, convinced that the truth didn't matter because the man who betrayed me had more money, more power, more resources. But today, a jury proved that the truth does matter, that evidence matters, that no amount of wealth or influence puts you above the law. Isamkimati, she paused. I want to thank the FBI, the prosecutors, and everyone who believed in justice even when it seemed impossible. And I want to thank the people who helped me when I had nothing, who risked everything for a stranger because it was the right thing to do. This verdict isn't just mine. It belongs to all of us. She stepped away from the microphone. The reporters kept shouting questions, but she ignored them, walking straight to where Ethan stood at the edge of the crowd. Thank you, she said, for everything. You already thanked me, multiple times. I'll probably keep thanking you for the rest of my life. Get used to it. Ethan smiled despite himself. What happens now, for you? I rebuild. The company, my reputation, everything Victor destroyed, it'll take years, but I'm ready. She looked at him with something close to hope. What about you? I go home, pick up my daughter, make dinner, help with homework, the usual. That sounds nice. It is. They stood there for a moment, the chaos of the press conference swirling around them, both knowing this was goodbye but neither wanting to say it. That dinner I mentioned, Scarlett said finally, I'm still planning to collect on it. When you're ready, I'll let you know. You better. She squeezed his hand once, then let go and walked toward the waiting car where her team stood ready to whisk her away to the next crisis, the next battle, the next chapter of her impossible life. Ethan watched her go, then headed to his truck. He picked up Maya from Jess's house an hour later. She was on the porch waiting, backpack already on. How'd it go? Jess asked. Guilty. On everything. Good. She looked at Maya, then back at him. You did the right thing. Even though it was terrifying and stupid, you did the right thing. High praise. Don't push it. But she hugged him anyway. Take care of yourself. And call me this weekend. We need to talk about Thanksgiving. Maya chattered the whole drive home. About school, about a boy who'd pulled her hair at recess, about the tree costume that was almost finished. Ethan listened, half his mind still in that courtroom, watching Victor's face as the verdict came down. Guilty. It felt real now, final. At home, Maya dumped her backpack and ran to her room to change. Ethan stood in the kitchen, looking at the refrigerator covered in her drawings, the table with its permanent marker stains, the crack in the ceiling he still hadn't fixed. This life. This small, ordinary, beautiful life. He'd almost lost it, but he hadn't. He'd fought for it. Not with fists or weapons, but with choices. Small decisions that added up to something bigger. Letting Scarlett stay. Believing her story, standing up to Victor, testifying even when it would have been easier to stay silent. His phone buzzed. Text from Scarlett. Thank you, again, always. S. He smiled and typed back, stop thanking me and start rebuilding your empire. 3 dots. Then, yes, sir. Another pause. Then, dinner in 6 months, when things settle? Ethan thought about it. About what 6 months might look like. About whether the space between them, billionaire CEO and single-father construction worker, was too wide to cross. But then he remembered the woman in his bathroom, terrified and alone. The woman who'd looked at Maya's drawings and understood what mattered. The woman who'd fought beside him when it would have been easier to run. 6 months? He typed. I'll be there. Looking forward to it. He set the phone down and started making dinner. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti again because Maya liked it, and he was tired of trying new things. While the water boiled, he thought about the money. $70,000 minus what he'd already spent on the truck repairs and Maya's new shoes and the water heater that had finally given up completely. Enough left to breathe, to stop worrying, to maybe even save for Maya's future instead of just surviving her present. He'd earned it. Not by doing something heroic or dramatic, but by making the hard choice when it mattered. By standing up for someone who needed help, even when it put everything at risk. Maya appeared in the doorway, changed into her favorite dinosaur pajamas even though it was only 6 o'clock. Can we watch a movie tonight? What movie? The one with the princess who saves herself. I thought you were tired of princess movies. This one's different. She doesn't wait for a prince. She just does it herself. Ethan smiled. Sounds like a good movie. We'll watch it after dinner. They ate together at the kitchen table, same as always. Maya told him about the boy who'd pulled her hair, how she'd told the teacher, how the teacher had made him apologize. Did you accept the apology? Ethan asked. Yeah, but I told him if he does it again, I'm pulling his hair back. That's probably not what the teacher wanted you to say. Maybe not, but it's fair. She had a point. After dinner, they curled up on the couch and watched the princess movie. Maya fell asleep halfway through, head on Ethan's shoulder, breathing soft and even. He carried her to bed, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. Love you, sweetheart. She mumbled something that might have been love you too, and rolled over, already deep in dreams. Ethan stood in her doorway for a moment, watching her sleep, feeling that familiar ache in his chest, love mixed with fear, mixed with gratitude that she was safe, that they'd made it through. Downstairs, he cleaned up dinner, checked the locks on all the doors, turned off the lights. Normal routines, normal life. But something had shifted. He felt it in the way he moved through the house, the way he breathed. Lighter somehow, less burdened. He'd spent years carrying the weight of being enough, good enough father, provider enough, strong enough to handle everything alone. And for the first time in a long time, he realized he didn't have to carry it all by himself. Scarlett had needed help, and he'd given it. But she'd helped him too, reminded him that asking for help wasn't weakness, that accepting support didn't make you less capable, that sometimes the bravest thing you could do was admit you couldn't do it alone. He thought about the dinner 6 months from now, about sitting across from Scarlett in some expensive restaurant he'd need to Google the dress code for, talking about everything that had happened and everything that came after. It might be awkward, might be strange. They came from different worlds, had different lives waiting for them. But it might also be something else, something good, something worth exploring. He'd find out when the time came. For now, he had this, his house, his daughter, his life that wasn't perfect or dramatic or worth making a movie about, just real, just his. And that was enough. The next morning, Ethan woke to sunlight streaming through his bedroom window and the smell of something burning. He bolted downstairs to find Maya standing on a chair in front of the stove, attempting to make pancakes. What are you doing? Making breakfast. For you. Because you always make it for me, and I wanted to do something nice. She gestured proudly at the pan, where a pancake-shaped object was smoking ominously. I think this one's almost done. Ethan turned off the burner, moved the pan to a cold spot. The pancake was black on one side, raw on the other. Good effort, but maybe we stick to cereal for now. Ah, Dad, I appreciate the thought, really, but I also appreciate not burning down the house. Maya hopped down from the chair, looking disappointed but not defeated. Can we try together? You can teach me. And that right there, that simple request to learn, to do better, to try again, that was everything. Yeah, Ethan said. We can try together. They made pancakes. Messy, imperfect pancakes that were too thick in the middle and too thin at the edges. But they were theirs, made together, and they tasted perfect. Life kept moving after the trial. Victor was sentenced to 23 years in federal prison. Scarlett rebuilt her company, slowly earning back the trust she'd lost. The press moved on to other stories, other scandals, other billionaires with secrets. Ethan went back to being invisible, which suited him fine. He paid off the mortgage, fixed the crack in the ceiling, took Maya to soccer practice and helped with homework and attended school plays where she was, predictably, the best tree in the forest. The money Scarlett had given him sat in a savings account, growing interest, waiting for Maya's college applications and whatever else the future held. And every Sunday evening, his phone rang. Same time, same caller, Scarlett. They talked about everything and nothing, her board meetings, his work projects, books they'd read, movies they'd seen, the kind of conversations people have when they're building something without quite naming what it is. 6 months turned into 8, then 10. The dinner invitation stood, but neither of them pushed it. There was time, no urgency. Just the slow building of trust and friendship and maybe something more. One Sunday, Scarlett called earlier than usual, 2 in the afternoon instead of evening. Hey, Ethan answered. This is different. I'm in town, meeting with investors, and I thought... She paused. Do you want to grab coffee if you're free? Ethan looked around his living room. Maya was at Jess's for the afternoon. He'd been planning to clean the gutters, maybe catch up on bills. Yeah, he said. I'm free. They met at a coffee shop downtown. Nothing fancy, just a local place with good espresso and mismatched chairs. Scarlett was already there when he arrived, sitting in the corner with 2 cups in front of her. I ordered for you. Black, right? Right. He sat down. Good memory. I pay attention. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sipping coffee, watching people pass on the street outside. How's Maya? Scarlett asked. Good. Great, actually. She made honor roll last semester, and she's decided she wants to be an astronaut. Last month it was marine biologist. Before that, veterinarian. She's exploring options. Scarlett smiled. That's good. She should explore. What about you? How's the company? Stable. Finally. We signed 3 new contracts this month. The board stopped questioning every decision I make, and I think we might actually turn a profit this quarter. She set down her cup. It's not what it was, but it's mine again. Really mine. That's good. Yeah. She looked at him, and something in her expression shifted. I need to tell you something. And I don't want you to take it the wrong way. Ethan's stomach tightened. Okay, I'm leaving. San Francisco, the company, all of it. He blinked. What? Not permanently, not yet. But I'm taking a step back, promoting my CFO to CEO, moving to an advisory role. She searched for words. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not fighting, when I'm not running, when I'm not defined by the company or the scandal or what Victor did. That makes sense, does it? Because I feel like I'm giving up, like I fought so hard to get everything back and now I'm just walking away. You're not walking away. You're choosing something else. That's different. Scarlett looked at him like he'd said something profound. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just a guy who's been where you are, trying to figure out what matters when everything else falls away. And what matters? The people you love, the life you build, the moments you don't want to miss because you're too busy fighting. He leaned forward. You've been in survival mode for a year, maybe longer. It's okay to stop surviving and start living. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached across the table and took his hand. That dinner I keep promising you, can we do it tonight? Ethan thought about Maya, safe at Jess's place, about the gutters that could wait, about the moment right in front of him that wouldn't come again. Yeah, he said. Tonight works. They had dinner at a small Italian place Scarlett knew, tucked away from the main streets where tourists crowded. The food was good, the wine better, and the conversation flowed like they'd been doing this for years instead of months. She told him about her plans, traveling, maybe writing a book, definitely taking time to figure out what came next. He told her about Maya's latest obsession with space, how she'd convinced him to drive 3 hours to a planetarium just to see a meteor shower simulation. "You're a good dad," Scarlett said. "I try." "No, I mean it. The way you talk about her, the way you prioritize her, that's rare." "She's my kid, of course I prioritize her. Not everyone does, trust me." Scarlett swirled wine in her glass. "My father worked 80-hour weeks my whole childhood. Made millions, but missed everything that mattered. I swore I'd never be like that. And then I became exactly like that. But you're changing it now. Trying to. We'll see if it sticks." After dinner, they walked through the city, talking and not talking, comfortable in the spaces between words. At some point, their hands found each other. Natural, easy, like it had been waiting to happen. They stopped at a park, not the same one where Victor had confronted him, but similar enough to make Ethan's chest tighten with memory. "You okay?" Scarlett asked. "Yeah, just thinking about how different things are now." "Better or worse?" "Better. Definitely better." She stepped closer. "Can I tell you something?" "Always." "When I first broke into your house, I thought you'd be easy to manipulate. I needed a place to hide, and you seemed safe, predictable." She looked up at him. "I was so wrong. You're the most unpredictable person I've ever met, because you actually mean it when you say you care. You actually follow through. You actually show up. That's not unpredictable. That's just being a decent person. In my world, it is unpredictable. Most people say what they need to say and do what benefits them. You say what you mean and do what's right, even when it costs you." Ethan didn't know what to say to that, so he kissed her instead. It was soft, tentative, the kind of first kiss that asked permission even as it gave it. She kissed him back, her hand finding the back of his neck, pulling him closer. When they broke apart, she was smiling. "Took you long enough. I was trying to be respectful." Respect is overrated. They walked back to where they'd parked, hands still linked, both of them knowing something had shifted but neither rushing to define it. At her car, Scarlett turned to face him. "I'm leaving in 2 weeks. I don't know for how long. Could be months." "Okay. But I'd like to see you before I go, if that's okay." "More than okay. And maybe, when I come back, if you're still interested, I'll be interested." She kissed him again, quick and sweet. "Good." Ethan drove home with the radio off, just the sound of tires on pavement and his own thoughts for company. He felt something he hadn't felt in years, not just happiness, but possibility. The sense that his life might contain more than just survival and responsibility. That there might be room for joy, for romance, for futures he hadn't planned. At home, he sat in his driveway for a moment, looking at the house that had been his whole world for so long. It was enough. It would always be enough. But maybe it could be more too. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur. Ethan saw Scarlett 4 more times: coffee, lunch, a movie Maya insisted on tagging along for, and one last dinner the night before she left. Maya liked her. That was the important part. Liked her enough to show off her astronaut drawings, to explain in excruciating detail how rockets worked, to ask when she'd come back. "I don't know yet," Scarlett said honestly, "but I'll visit. I promise." "Okay, because my dad smiles more when you're around, and that's good." After Maya went to bed, Ethan walked Scarlett to her car. "She's right, you know," Scarlett said. "You do smile more." "So do you." "Yeah, I do." She looked at him in the darkness, streetlight casting shadows across her face. "Thank you for giving me a second chance, for believing me when no one else would. For what? For showing me what it looks like when someone actually means what they say." They kissed goodbye, neither one wanting to let go, but both knowing they had to. "Call me," Ethan said. "Every Sunday, same time. I'll be waiting." She got in her car and drove away, taillights disappearing around the corner. Ethan stood in his driveway, hands in his pockets, and let himself feel it all, the loss and the hope and the quiet certainty that this wasn't an ending, just another beginning. Inside, he checked on Maya one more time. Still asleep, still safe, still his whole world. But maybe his world was getting bigger. Maybe that was okay. He went to his room, pulled out his phone, and set a reminder for Sunday at 8 p.m. Call from Scarlett. Then he lay down and slept better than he had in months. Life continued its forward march. Maya turned 8. Ethan got promoted to crew supervisor, which came with a raise and more responsibility. The house stayed standing despite his best efforts to ignore maintenance. And every Sunday at 8 p.m., his phone rang. Scarlett, calling from wherever her travels had taken her. Thailand one week, Ireland the next, then back to California for a board meeting before disappearing to Iceland. She was finding herself. That's what she said. Finding the parts of her that had gotten buried under ambition and fear and the weight of Victor's betrayal. Ethan understood. He'd been doing the same thing, in his own way. Finding the parts of himself that had been buried under responsibility and single parenthood and the fear of never being enough. They were both works in progress. And that was fine. 3 months after she left, Scarlett came back for a week. They spent it carefully. Dinner twice, coffee 3 times, one afternoon at the park with Maya, where they flew kites and ate ice cream and pretended to be a normal family. It felt good. Scary, but good. I'm thinking about moving back, Scarlett said on her last night in town. They were sitting on Ethan's porch, watching Maya chase fireflies in the yard. Not to my old place. Somewhere smaller. Somewhere that feels like home instead of an investment. You should, if that's what you want. I think it is. I've been running for so long. Maybe it's time to stay still for a while. Staying still is underrated. She leaned her head on his shoulder. You make it look easy. It's not, but it's worth it. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Maya's silhouette against the darkening sky, and Ethan thought about how much had changed since that afternoon when he'd found a stranger in his bathroom. He'd been terrified then, convinced his life was over, that everything would fall apart, but it hadn't fallen apart. It had broken open. And in the breaking, he'd found something he didn't know he needed, the courage to be more than just a survivor, to be someone who took risks, who fought for people, who opened his life to possibility even when it scared him. Maya ran up to the porch, breathless and glowing with joy. Dad, Scarlett, come see. There's like 1,000,000 fireflies by the fence. 1,000,000, huh? Ethan stood, offering his hand to Scarlett. We better go see that. They walked to the fence together, the 3 of them, and watched fireflies blink in and out of existence like tiny stars that had fallen to earth. Maya caught one in her cupped hands, peered at it through the gaps in her fingers. Make a wish, Dad. That's for birthday candles, sweetheart. So? Make one anyway. Ethan looked at his daughter, her face lit by wonder. Looked at Scarlett, her hand warm in his. Looked at his house, his life, his impossible present that had somehow become his future. He didn't need to wish for anything. He had everything he needed right here. Okay, he said. I'm wishing. Maya opened her hands and the firefly floated away, blinking its light into the darkness. And Ethan realized that's what life was. Catching light when you could, holding it carefully, and knowing when to let it go. Trusting that more light would come. That there was always more light if you were brave enough to keep your hands open. He'd been brave. Scared out of his mind, but brave. And it had been worth it, all of it, every terrifying, impossible moment, because here he was, still standing, still fighting, still alive in all the ways that mattered, with his daughter by his side and a future that looked nothing like he'd planned, but everything like what he needed. That was enough. That was everything. And as they walked back to the house together, fireflies dancing in their wake, Ethan understood what he'd been too afraid to admit before. He hadn't just protected a billionaire that day she broke into his house. He'd saved himself too, found the parts of him that had been hiding, the courage, the conviction, the capacity to love beyond fear. And in finding them, he'd found his way home. Not to a place, to a life. To the person he'd always been capable of becoming if he was brave enough to try. He squeezed Scarlett's hand. She squeezed back. And somewhere in the distance, the world kept turning, kept changing, kept demanding more than anyone thought they could give. But here, now, in this moment, they had enough. They had each other. And that was the only truth that mattered.